All right, we are live. This is Rusty from the Stunthangar Control Line Forums, and we're here for the Friday night hangout, August the 24th, 2018. And I hope all y'all had a good week, did something fun, so we'll have some things to talk about tonight. And the weather's really moderated here. It's only been in the low 90s, high 80s every day for the past few days. No thunderstorms. Other than getting a little dry, and it's really good here. So I hope the same for you. We got one viewer already. Oop, 3 viewers there popping in like it's raining on YouTube. So y'all hang in there while we wait for some people to join us, and we'll see if we can get a show going tonight. The chat box on YouTube, we were trying to tell some of the people that watch us in here live how to get to that. We'll talk about that later on. But for you guys that already are, hi Ron, for already on like Ron, then you know where the super chat $sign at the bottom of the chat box is. And if you want to give us a little walking around money for server fees and equipment, that would be greatly appreciated. If you can, we appreciate it. If you can't or don't want to, that's fine too. Doesn't matter. Just come in and have fun. So since I got no video visitors, I'll ask you, Ron, how you doing tonight? Hey, Jack Snavely, all hobby people. Yep, hiya, all hobby people, he says. Hi, people. How are y'all doing? Anybody do anything fun this week? Plane related anyway? So, see, when I ask the YouTubers, I have to wait for a typed answer. Ryan says he watched the rest of Monday's program on Tuesday. Great show. It was a good show. We had a good time. Learned a lot. That was that. I think that's the one that went on till about 1:30 in the morning or later. I don't know. We really got cranking. Had some good conversation going. So I hope we can get that going tonight. And thank you, Jack. We appreciate your contributions. That means a lot. I know it's not easy to just give money out to everybody that asks, but we thank you very much for the contribution. Hey, Sparky.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. I was just doing the routine intros and getting started talking to the YouTubers, and nobody except for you is on live yet. So how's everything? How's everything in Dayton?
It's all right. Getting ready to go to Muncie in the morning.
What's going on in Muncie?
The Roger Wildman Memorial Contest.
Oh, okay. And is that just a stunt contest, or they have combat carrier and all that stuff too?
It used to be a AAA event. Hey, Ron.
Hey, Ron.
It used to be a AAA event, but now it's just a Pampa event where they have profile, classic, old time, beginner, intermediate, expert.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've heard you say AA and AAA before. What are all the A's mean? Is there just one A for each type of control line discipline that goes on, like racing, combat, stunt, all that?
Right. So tomorrow's contest is an A contest. The AA would be carrier and you know, something like that. And then a AAA is a combat carrier. It's just like a mini NATS.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering. I'd heard it referred to, but I didn't know what it actually meant. So how you doing tonight, Ron?
I'm doing fine. Ran across something that kind of amazed me. I didn't realize that we had a cover girl in our midst.
Yes, we do. Will Dave, that was Samantha. I thought you were talking about this month's picture had a Will Davis teaching a little girl how to fly on the cover.
Haven't seen this bunch yet, but I ran across this thumbing through some of my old magazines, and I hadn't realized that she was the cover girl.
Yeah, I had that when it finally rotated through the coffee cup coaster pile, and now it's out. But I did have it for a long time.
I'm a pack rat. What can I tell you?
What was that? A year or two ago?
Say again.
What's the date on that one?
November 2016. 2 years ago.
Okay, yeah, a couple of years old. That was a great picture on this this month's issue. If you saw that, it's Will Davis, our club president, teaching a little tiny girl how to fly. Will's bending over, holding the handle while she's out there smiling and flying.
That's the way to do it.
Hey, Chris Hornady's back in, and never did hear from you, Chris. Did you ever have any luck logging into Stunthangar? I noticed that you did have a username in Stunthangar. It's Chris Hornady, and I don't know if you got any of my messages or not, because I don't know if that email that Stunthangar directed me to is still valid. But tell us now if you need us to do anything to get you hooked up. But you've already got an account. You just need to get in so you can set your password. Oh, he said he got it. Okay, good. So are you good? Can you log into Stunthangar? And if you can log into Stunthangar, everybody knows, of course, you can get to the @thebench thread where the link to the video Hangout is. Without logging into Stunthangar, you can't get the link, though.
Yeah, if you get busy, I'll plug and go back over to
Back over. Okay.
YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, because you were so busy Monday. That's why I didn't.
Yeah, it got so busy that everybody was stepping on each other and you couldn't understand what anybody was saying. 10 sounds good, but it's really too much, especially if some people don't realize it's not full duplex like telephone is. You know, when one person talks, it mutes everybody else. And so banging on the table or standing on something and it mutes everybody else. And so a lot of people it's hard to deal with, but I'm not complaining. I like a big crowd, but you do have to learn to work through the way the sound switches back and forth.
Makes good conversation.
Yeah. And Chris is trying to log into Stunthangar right now to see if he needs any further assistance. Otherwise, he's good to go.
I usually get tired about 11 my time and pull the plug about then anyway, and then watch the rest of the program, Saturday or Tuesday morning.
Yeah. I think 99% of our viewers watch the reruns because it just doesn't fit you can't expect everybody to have the same schedule we do.
I'm fragile. I can't stay up that late.
Yeah. And it's really early for other people too.
Yeah.
It's just
California guys, it's the middle of the morning.
Well, it's 6 o'clock 6:48 in the afternoon right now.
That's the morning.
Okay. 6:48 p.m. You consider that morning?
Hey, I get up late.
Yeah, I guess you do. So you been building anything?
Yeah, I'm still working on my Peacemaker.
Okay.
Got
What about you, Sparky? What you been working at?
Ready to cover.
What you been doing, Sparky?
I just sanding on my new airplane and getting all my camera gear ready for tomorrow. I'll show you this camera. I got a new wireless microphone set up for it. I'm charging the one battery now.
Is that one that you got to buy the batteries and everything else separate with, or was that another camera?
No, that's my Osmo. I'm going to sell that Osmo. It's just too hard to use.
Yeah. Well, did you read the article that the AMA woman wrote about us at Brodak, or was it Nats?
Okay. What she?
Yeah. It was a pretty good article. She covered it well.
Movies in it?
Did it have what? Movies in it?
Yeah.
I think it did. I read some of it, but I'd have to go back and look and see if it had movies. But she covered it pretty well, other than misspelling a couple of names. But Hell, that happens in every magazine.
Where was the article at?
I read one article recently where the Barrys were the berries. I'm
Where
sure.
was this article at?
Say what?
Where was the article at?
It was in, I don't know what page it was on. It was in this most recent Model Aviation magazine. And I get it electronically, so I can't pick it up and thumb through it right now. But anyway, I see we got, hey, we got a couple of visitors. We got Charles Carter and Bob Hunt joining us now. So we're starting to build up a good Friday crowd. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good, it's good.
Yeah.
How about
Straightened out, Bob?
What's that?
Are you son? I can hear you. You get a new mic?
No. Is it better?
yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Much better.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Well, go figure. Sometimes it works that way. But yeah, you sound pretty loud right now. We'll see later what it sounds like on the recording.
Loud
Usually,
and clear right now.
yeah. Usually it's better here than it is on the recording. But
You hear
but man, we had a wild show on Monday night. We went on to 1:30 in the morning Eastern time, and had Tom Luciano and Al Ferraro and Mike Lanke talking combat engines, combat planes, and you can learn some combat from those dudes, and it was great. I didn't want to turn it off, but I just couldn't go any longer. Had to get up the next day, so that was good. Enjoyed Monday night show. Oh, we got Brent W. calls himself Top Brent, listening from Utah. Hey, Brent, hadn't seen you in a while.
Right.
And Chris Hornady was able to log into Stunthangar, so Chris can log into here if he goes to the At the Bench thread now. So good, Chris. Hope to see you posting on Stunthangar sometime soon with all the rest of us old geezers. So, Chris, are you a geezer or are you a young guy? We know what everybody here is because we can see them.
Yeah.
We can see the color of their hair.
What hair?
Yeah.
You got some hair. You got enough to where I can tell it's gray. Bob definitely is in the gray club.
I grew my hair back.
All right.
I'm not seeing it. All I see is a reflection, Charles.
Well,
So-
if I turned around, the shining would block you right out.
So, what you been working at, Bob? Did you do any airplane-oriented stuff this week?
Oh yeah, lots of starting to get a lot of wing orders, so I'm doing a lot of covering a lot of wings, cutting a lot of lost foam cradle sets, and like that.
So you spend a lot of time working on other people's stuff than you do on your own, don't you? And here's Sparky's showing us something. I got you clicked up, Sparky.
Here's my one, Bob.
Yeah,
I told you don't be all together.
that looks great.
Yeah, it does look good, Sparky.
29 ounces right now. 28.3 or 28.8.
Is it glued together now?
Yeah.
Got the pipe tunnel done?
Yeah, pipe tunnel's in it. I haven't cut the hole for it.
And it looks
All
gorgeous.
together.
Gorgeous.
It's going to be a heavier night than I wanted, but
Aren't they all?
yeah. It's let's say this is 30 ounces, just to round up. And I got 23 ounces of hardware to go in it. That's 53 plus 6 ounces of finish, which is, it's going to be more than that.
Yeah, but that's a big airplane.
Yeah, but they fly so nice when they're 58, 59 ounces. But I'm carrying around a pipe with this one. But actually, this one's lighter than the other one. because I got more weight in the motor, ounce more in the motor, and a pipe. So actually 2.5, 3 ounces more.
Dude.
I'll be under the 64-ounce range. I still haven't got my 4-strand Russian line yet, but
Do some people make those pipes out of carbon fiber, or can that take the heat?
Oh yeah, that's what we've been making them out of carbon fiber since we first started, right in the early '90s.
Okay.
Randy made me a special pipe. It's supposed to be here. I thought it was going to be here today, but a lighter one. So we'll see how light that comes out. Less glue, I guess. If I get one season out of it, I'm happy.
I hope you get more than one season out of it. Any reason to? You talking about the pipe or the plane? One season out of the
Pipe. You get 2 seasons out of an airplane, you're doing good.
Yeah, definitely. I'm doing good if I get 2 seasons. Actually, that's about what I usually get.
Well, I've got airplanes that are, 10, 15 years old, but if you build them like Wendy builds them to last a lifetime, they weigh so damn much that, they're unflyable as far as I'm concerned. I can't handle it.
Billy's got a couple of USA ones, one in particular that he used in 1972, and he still occasionally flies that in competition.
Wow.
But Billy is a strange character. His airplane probably looks brand new.
You think?
Yeah. His airplane probably still looks brand new.
He told me he's had three complete separate control systems in that airplane, and I can't tell how he changed them.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, he's a magician.
What do you mean? No sign of surgery? Is that what you're talking about?
I can't find where he put new control horns in, and new push rods, and new bell cranks, and I don't know how he does it.
I got a text message from Mike Leinke today with a picture of a Testarossa in his office, and I said, "Damn, Mike, did you build that?" And he sent me a text back. Heck no, that's Wendy's old plane. He's just holding on to it between handlers. It's going to somebody else. Maybe he said Paul Taylor. I can't remember who he said it was going to now.
No, Paul Taylor owns it.
Oh, is that it? Okay. I didn't have my story quite right.
It's a nice airplane, but it's got a 90 in the nose, and that's no thank you.
Is that 90 a 4-stroke or a 2-stroke?
Oh, it's a 2-stroke. It's a Rojet 90. I think it weighs about 18 or 19 ounces. It's ridiculous.
Wow. Yeah.
I flew a bunch of Wendy's airplanes over the years, and every time I fly one, it takes me my right arm about 3 months to recover. They pull so hard. He really flies with a tremendous amount of line tension.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I like to fly with as little line tension as possible, but still get the job done. I don't like a lot of line tension.
Yeah, your mic is amazing. I don't know what you've done to it, but it's amazing.
What's that?
I don't know what you did to your mic, but it's amazing. It's crystal clear now and loud.
I don't know. I didn't do anything different, so
Yeah.
I rebooted the computer. Maybe that was, I don't know.
Yeah, man, you never can tell. I mean, rebooting a computer will fix a lot of problems. I just messed with your volume over here to see if it made any additional difference, but I can't tell. But it's good either way.
Good. And it saves me all that money buying a new mic.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll stay that way.
You're talking about line tension.
Mike's watching us. He says it's got a Rojet 75 in it, not a 90.
I have a saying about line tension. I said, Rembrandt could not have painted his masterpieces if while he was painting, someone was trying to pull the brush out of his hand.
Yeah. A good point. I like that.
Good.
That's a good way to say it.
The amount of tension you need is enough to do the job and no more.
And Top Brent says that he is not a geezer, not quite a geezer yet. He's 40 years old.
Oh, he's a
Okay.
kid. He's a kid.
Yeah.
40. He's allowed to stay up this late at 40?
As long as his mom doesn't find out.
Let the kids in.
I just had to take a survey. I like to know who our audience is.
I'm really amazed they've left Hangouts open for us.
Yep. Yeah, we were mentioning that the other night. I don't know if we ought to knock on wood and keep our mouth shut or not, but maybe there were enough people doing quality shows to where they decided to leave it up. Who knows? Hard to tell when it comes to the Goog tube, as I like to call it.
Well, I haven't seen YouTube model builders have a Hangout in quite a while, so. But they didn't do it twice a week. They only did it once a week.
Yeah.
Maybe they left us alone because we're using it. I don't know.
Mike Lonke says he's finishing setting up for Sam's birthday party, and he'll be back on with the Testarossa in a few minutes.
How old is Sam now? How old is Sam?
8. I'm not sure. 8, 9.
I remember watching him fly in his first nationals when he flew junior. He's come a long way.
Yeah. I've seen him out with a speed limit combat plane, zinging it around just like it's nothing. I mean, it looks like when I go out with my half ace and just freestyle punching holes in the sky. And I'd hate to have to compete against him anytime in the next couple of years, because he's going to be as good as all of us.
Yeah.
All of us anyway. He's a natural.
You know, another kid that's coming up fast is Ben Mills. He's coming
That's
up.
what I heard.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Better every year.
Paul Walker gave me his jet style impact, and he flew it this year, and he flew it really well.
Yeah.
Sam's turning 10, according to Mike. About to turn 10.
All right, cool.
And Samantha's 18.
Flying any?
Well, I went out to fly today, but had engine problems. I put a K-77 in my Strega today, and I don't know, the motor got hot, and then it stopped, and then when I turned it, it felt rough. You know, so I don't know what happened to that motor, but it went sideways on me.
Oh.
So I don't know. I just sent my my stalker to Tom Dixon yesterday. He should get it tomorrow, and hopefully he has some parts for a stalker 76, but he's not sure if those parts are interchangeable with the 80. I mean, if I need a connecting rod, which I think that's what I might need, he's hoping that the 76 connecting rod is the same one that's using the 81.
When that stalker's working right, it's been your most successful engine on that Strega, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, it's it just puts along and has. I like it because it's a low RPM motor. You know, when I release the motor, it's anywhere between 68 and 6,900 RPMs, and it's quiet. And most people, when they sneak up on me, they go, "Man, that thing is pretty quiet." I go, "Yeah, it's just because it's hardly turning over." You know.
How much pitch are you using on that at 6,900 RPM? How much pitch do you have on the prop?
Yeah, I'm thinking this particular prop that I was using is about 5.5, 6.
Really?
Yeah.
At that low in RPM, it pulls the airplane.
Yeah, it's a big prop though. It's a 14-inch two-blade prop. I'm 14 or 15-inch. I don't remember.
Wow, that's lumber.
So it creates a lot of thrust.
What is it, a Hamilton Standard?
You know what? That's pretty funny.
Or a Sensenich? You know?
Yeah.
That's a lot of prop.
Yeah, it is. But I need it because I have that big, thick, Windy Wanowski wing, you know?
Well, like I said last week, it's impressive to see that much ball fluid in the air at one time.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
actually a big gym wing, isn't it?
what was that, Rusty?
That's actually a big gym wing, isn't it?
Yes, after his pattern master, the big pattern master.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had 2 or 3 pattern masters, but I think it's the big one. It's about 3 inches thick, the wing, either 3 or 3¼ inches thick.
I got to tell you a story about the first time I met Big Jim.
All right.
This was back around 1972 or 3, someplace in there. And we were out of Flushing Meadows. And I was hanging around with Bill Simons at that time. He was my mentor. And Bill Simons used to live in Washington Heights, New York, right about where the George Washington Bridge is. And that's where Big Jim lived, too. And they were best buddies. And they used to get on the subway and go down to Warnaco Park and Warnaco, or I forgot the Van Cortlandt Park and fly airplanes when they were kids. So they knew each other really well. And he kept telling me about Big Jim and, what a, genius he was at designing airplanes. And I had never met him. So we went up to Flushing Meadows one day, and Big Jim, I was introduced to him, and he always called me Bobby Hunt. He never called me Bob or Hunt. It was always one word, Bobby Hunt. And he said, Bobby Hunt, would you like to fly my pattern master? And I said, well, yeah, gee, why not? That'd be great. I was nervous. I'd never met the guy. And Big Jim was Big Jim. He was big.
I've seen pictures of him.
Yeah, he was a big guy. And he had some leg problems, because of his weight. So it took him about a minute to kneel down to start the engine, right? So I get out there on the lines, and I'm holding the lines, and he's down there, and he's holding his cigar between his ring finger and his pinky. He goes like that, and he's getting ready to, and he's holding the airplane with his thumb and his forefinger. He was a very strong guy. And he's getting ready to start it. And I'm nervous. So I said, gee, Big Jim, I'm sure glad that I can run faster than you in case something happens. Well, he takes his cigar out of his mouth. He stands up, takes him about a minute to stand up. He looks at me, he says, oh, that's okay. Crash it. I'll turn over your car.
That's pretty good. Yeah, he's a big dude. Big.
Yeah. There are times once in a rare while when I wish I was a big old boy like that, but I think more times I'm not than not. I'm glad I'm not a big giant guy, especially every time I have to get inside of an MRI machine. I'd hate to be a big giant guy.
Yeah, I don't know if it could fit in the MRI machine.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Speaking of Flushing Meadows, have you seen Lampione or heard anything about him?
I haven't talked to Bob in about a year. No, he hasn't been doing well health-wise. I know that. He's had a lot of heart problems. I hope he's okay.
How about Rich Gackable?
I had lunch with Rich on Wednesday, and he's doing physically very well. His voice is not going to come back. His speech is not going to come back. It's very, very difficult for him to talk. And, it's tough for him because he was an eloquent speaker. If you knew Rich, he was very eloquent, and now he can hardly talk at all. But he looks good. He looks good.
That's the same thing he had a stroke, and he has a hard time talking.
Yeah, there's one of my buddy Wayne Robinson is really active up at Triple Tree, and they've got a guy up there that also is, and he had a stroke a couple of years back and went from being an eloquent speaker and joke teller and just a lovely person to have a conversation with to not being able to express himself almost at all now. And that must be it's like the wires get cut to that part of your brain. It's awful to imagine that happening to you.
Bill Gregerson, I was talking to him a couple times this week. We had a couple of long discussions, and he's had some health issues too. He had I guess a mild heart attack, but he also had a stroke. But fortunately, his speech did come back completely, but he has had some issues moving his body,
Yeah.
Oh, really? I'm sorry to hear that. Now they're trying to call Phil. I've been leaving messages, and I don't know if I have the right number or not, but I never get calls back.
He's going through a rough patch right now. So cut him some slack,
Right, well,
Hey, Gerald, how you doing tonight?
All right, speaking of Sparky and Bob and Ron and Charles.
Here.
Hey, what's up?
Thanks for the contribution.
That's okay. Well, thanks for sending me your newsletter. I enjoyed reading through that.
Yeah, I was thinking that I had already sent you the or gotten you on my mailing list, but I checked before I sent it out this time and realized I needed to add you. So after I read yours, I went and sent you mine. Yours looks like it looks well. Let's see. Shug sent me his too. I'm getting them confused. One of them looks similar to mine, and Shug uses Dropbox too. And so I'm wondering who else uses Microsoft Publisher like I do. But
I used to use that.
yeah, I've been using it since when it first came out back in the 90s.
Mine's very humble. I imagine anything Shug would do would be a lot better than mine. So my newsletter is very humble, and I just use Open Office to draft one up, and then I PDF it when I send it off to everybody so they can read it. But it still takes me a lot of time putting together everything.
It has plenty of information in it.
Yeah, it's hard though. It's hard to just keep thinking of something new to put in a newsletter.
Yeah.
Well, we got fireworks going on out here.
It helps if the readers will send you something once in a while.
Yeah.
And this time I got a flight report, a build report from one of our members in West Virginia, and that was good. Roger Altizer.
We're still in the building season. I don't have any contest reports. There's nothing happening. It's all what you're doing in your workshop right now. Whereas you've got all the contests going on now. I suppose you're probably 3/4 of the way through most of your evening's events, you know?
I like writing build reports and posting flight reports. In fact, that's what drew me to the forums. A big part of it in the first place is I like to write. I'd say that's probably one of my top hobbies. And then with my hands failing with the carpal tunnel, I kind of laid off for a while, and now I'm getting it back. I'm getting to where I can type a lot more. And so that's thrilling to be able to get that function back, because I hated losing writing. You know, that's one of my favorite ways to entertain people. And so I'm coming back.
All right.
How do you type? What system do you use for typing? Regular typing?
I'm talking about just keyboarding on the forums for writing flight reports and build reports. Otherwise, it would be Microsoft Word.
I mean, what actual pattern do you use with your fingers to type? A normal typing pattern?
No, I'm a untrained high-speed hunting pecker.
I've been writing my whole life, and I never learned how to type, so I use the Columbus system.
What's that?
The Columbus system, you find a key and land on it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, gotcha. And hopefully all the boats come back when you're through.
I'll check or fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just like I said, I'm a high-speed hunting pecker. But I could probably do 60 words a minute clean. And so that's pretty good. I can't do that now because I've only got one finger, this finger right here, that I can straighten out, and the rest of them, you know, you can see. And so I hit things that I don't mean to, but with my sense of feeling, I'm getting better at working around that. So yeah, I'm happy to have some function back there. And that's why I was dropping the handle too. I'm hoping I don't drop the handle anymore. That remains to be seen.
I'll just tape it to your head.
That's what I was thinking, coming up with something to wrap around it, maybe a Velcro belt or something, so that if it does come loose, then it doesn't go anywhere except pulling straight on the lines. Yeah, I had a new stunt ship. I had just gotten it in trim for last May in the event that I was able to fly. And the day I was flying the first pattern after finishing trimming, it slipped out of my hand and it nosed in and cracked up the wing sheeting and several other things too. So yeah, that's been disappointing too, but I'm hoping I'm working back out of that. Now all I got to do is get where I can walk and fly at the same time. So one of these days I'm going to be back in the game.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. we're going to Triple Tree this weekend, and that is as good a place as any to test your leg functions and see how you can turn circles, because it's got great footing, flat circles, and you could roll around on the ground for a full tank if you wanted to.
That's one of the nicest sites in the world.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like golf course greens, only flat.
Yeah.
They replaced the grass. Did they fix everything, Rusty?
They've been working on reseeding some spots up there. I'm not sure what they've done. I know they've been talking about it more than they've been doing it.
Rusty, have you got any halfway stunt chips that you could just practice a pattern, something that's light on your hands?
I do, yeah. And I don't drop them either. But Will Davis is bringing a couple of planes up there for me to fly. And I told him anything he brings, if it'll do loops or lazy eights, then I'll be fine. In case I find I can't turn circles, once I'm standing up, at least I can, I can do this. And it's just get my reflexes working a little bit anyway. And that'll make me happy. And I'd love to think maybe I'll be able to fly at Huntersville in October, but I'm ready to judge if I can't fly. But I'm hoping there's a long way till May again.
It'd be nice to see you getting to use that super Satan too.
Yeah.
You got to that level again, it would be great, eh?
Well, one thing on my side, the likelihood of me breaking my leg loading the car to go to Huntersville this year is pretty slim, because I've already done that. I was going to make my kick up to advanced official, and never did make it. Loading the car with airplanes and cracked with the hip. But anyway, enough geezer talk. I dominated the whole 10 minutes.
That's all we can talk.
We do pretty good. You were here Monday night, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some good technical aircraft talk Monday night without getting into geezer gripe sessions.
Yeah. Oh, we had Samantha on as well, which was quite neat.
That's right, good. Yeah.
All over every week.
My 96-year-old dad says the golden years aren't so golden. Old age not for pussies.
Yeah. It's wasted on young people.
There's
Mike Kleinke's coming in with us.
What's up, man?
Not much. We're just sitting here about hitting our groove. How you doing, Mike?
Doing okay. A little tired. A lot of prep work today for the 10-year-old's birthday party tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Hey, happy birthday to him for us.
In the double digits.
You're getting crowded here. I'm going to switch over to YouTube.
Okay, Ron.
Hey, Ron, take it easy.
See you later.
I got about 25 Rugrats coming over here tomorrow for a
wow.
water slide. I rented a big old water slide and a bounce house, and I got 50 cans of silly string, 500 water balloons. I think they'll have a good time.
Good grief.
Yeah, I think so. I wish I was coming.
Yeah, I'm cooking 75 hot dogs.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, Sam always seems to have big turnout for his party because he's lucky it's in the summer, so we get good weather for it. My daughter knows much. Hers is in January, so she gets the shaft.
and Sam does fun stuff too. And so they probably come over because it's fun to come to Sam's parties.
Oh, yeah. I got a couple of mini bikes and a little 50cc dirt bike. They'll all be out there tearing it up on that. His scout troop is coming over. Speaking of them, with last night, one of the parents offered up her cow pasture, and we took his den out and flew control line last night. We had 8 Cub Scouts. Well, they're Weeblos now, so they're 9, 10-year-olds. We had 8 of them and their parents, and I soloed 6 of them by their flight. 6 of them flew a tank of gas without crashing, and a couple of them even landed.
All right.
That was
good. And Sam and I flew a couple of combat matches. They were very excited to see that. We got in a line tangle and almost mid-air, and Sam stuffed his plane, so they were all hooting and hollering over that. They thought that was great. And the lady who owns the property, she has an older son that's 13, and he literally, 30 seconds after he had the hand, at it. I mean, he was flying low, like, okay, fly high, fly low, go up and down. The kid on his first flight, he nailed it, and she's asking me, where do I get one of these planes? How do we, let's go. I turn her on just a Brodak R for something like that, maybe a clown, and
Yeah.
Did I got 25 slam here.
Or even some of those arrow shaft jobs like you threw together for Sam at one time.
Well, he wanted to assemble one. A homeschooled kid, so I told her about building kits and about ARFs, and I said, really, never built a model in his life. Let's start with an ARF. We can get building kits later because they just live about 3 miles down the road. That's the upside too. Is now I got a 10-acre cow pasture 5 minutes from the house that I have permission to fly on.
Wow.
So that worked out really well. We were having to hand launch everything because they cut hay off it, but it's still too high for wheels. But Sam and I can go out there and burn up some speed limit combat stuff, no problem, because it's in nowhere. There's no neighbors or anything like that. Nobody's going to complain about the noise. So that worked out really well.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So are you guys ready for some airplane porn?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes.
One machine, let me tell you, man, I'm scared to death to even have it in my house, to be honest with you.
Oh, I bet.
Guy's coming to get it tomorrow, so let me get this camera flipped around.
Yeah. Make sure you got a clear path. We don't want you to be banging it on anything.
Make sure your glasses don't fall off and you can put a hole in the wing.
No, believe me, I'm saying my camera's messing up for some reason.
Your audio's cracking up too, son. I'm on a lot.
Well, maybe it'll stay now. Okay, there it is, the Testarossa.
Wow.
Wow. With that squared off fuselage in the back, it must be stiff as a board. I guess it is a board, but
it's pretty wide back there too. I'll get you some more shots of it, but let me just pan around the airplane here, and I tell you, this finish is slicker than hell. Hey Sam, say hi to everybody. Say hi. There's the birthday boy.
Hey Sam.
Hey Sam, happy birthday.
Birthday to you. Say hi.
Hey, Sam.
All right, we'll get back to the airplane here. Here's a shot of the nose. And I don't know how well with these fluorescent lights in here, if you can see the ink lines on this or not.
Off and on we can see them, but yeah, they're kind of faded in and out.
Oh, yeah, I kind of see it now. Yeah. Wow.
It looks like he's got pilot name of Enzo on there. So probably Enzo Ferrari.
Yeah, that would be Testarossa, right? Yep.
Ferrari logo there. So these louvers, or whatever you want to call them, they're kind of recessed into the fuselage.
So that's a take apart, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I've seen the construction videos on this plane. To take
look how boxy the fuse is. So it comes from there, and then just about the flaps, it tapers out, and it gets pretty wide right in front of the elevator right there, and then it comes back to. We got some more cool louvers there.
Yeah, the back, yes.
That's
Oh,
about
I see them now. Yeah.
See it.
That's real Ferrari paint on that too.
I had heard that. I had heard that's Ferrari red, straight from the factory. Looks like he's got a horn and a push rod there for the rudder.
Yeah, it's an Arabian rudder.
Well, I don't know if it. Does it move when you move the controls?
Yeah, it should. Yeah, Wendy was a big proponent of Arabian rudders.
All right, I don't think it'll hurt anything if I do that.
Yeah, let's try it.
Yeah, it's moving.
Yeah, it's moving.
A lot of movement there.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Mike, you were looking to buy a 60 size ship. That's all ready to go.
Yeah, no thank you. I can't afford this one, man.
Bob, didn't Les Demet do the drawings for that?
I believe he did, yeah.
Let me get a look at the wheel. I'm not going to turn it over. I'm sorry, guys.
No problem. I understand you got a camera out of hole too.
I put some wheel chocks on that so it doesn't roll off the table.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a great idea.
He's even got some louvers there over the cow.
Yeah. Wow.
Not showing up real good, I don't think.
Not quite enough light on them, but we can sort of see it.
And then over here to the wing.
I love the canopy.
Names on here. Team Testarossa. These are, I guess, all the people that helped him build the airplane. And
Yeah.
Can't see it.
Oh, I can see it.
everybody
I can't read them. I can see them. Can't read them.
them. Les Dennett, John Kafar, David Migley, Rich Oliver, Dub Jet, Elliot Scott, Peter McCall, Woody Midgley, Dorian Morisanu, Joe Adamusco, Bob Zambelli, John Brodak, Karen Bertnowski.
Yeah.
Very nice.
There it is.
That is beautiful, man.
So this had the big 92 stroke on it. Is that right?
Rojet 75 is what Paul listed it on Stunthangar. That's what he said. Rojet 75. So,
Does somebody buy it or what?
let me get a couple screwdrivers out. I'll pull the cowl off it and tell you. Way.
Does somebody buy it, Mike?
It's being sold tomorrow. The gentleman will be here tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Tomorrow evening, he's coming over, and then he's going to disassemble it here in my shop to get it back with him. He needed a shop and tools. The airplane was in Paul Taylor's son's possession here in Nashville. So normally the guy would have just went and saw Ryan to get this deal done, but Ryan is out of town this weekend and prior commitment, and Paul lives in Florida now, so Paul asked if I would do the transfer for him, and I said sure, no problem. But I made Ryan drive it here. He wanted to meet me somewhere and transfer the plane, and I was like, you got to bring it to my house and put it in my shop. I'm not touching it, and I'm not transferring. I didn't be responsible for it. I mean, I'm okay here in the house. I didn't want to drive it in my truck or anything like that because, I mean, I can't replace this thing, man. You know?
Yeah, kind of hard to replace one of a kind.
One of a kind. It is one of a kind for sure. So,
That is beautiful.
I had texted Will Davis last night a picture of it and said, "Look what's at my house." Texted back and he goes, "You gonna hit the field and sneak a few flights in today?" Nobody. I'm like, "Yeah, well,
Yeah.
no one will know."
Yeah, no one will know.
So,
That'd be one to fly, I tell you.
yeah, and Paul never flew it. Paul, since he's on the airplane, he said he never had the cojones to put it up. So, I imagine Wendy's probably the last one that flew the airplane when he retired it. You know, does anybody know how old this is and when it was built?
Let me see here.
It's got to be at least. Oh shit!
I thought it was
12
07
years.
or 08. I don't know.
7 or 8, so it's 10 years old, you think?
Yeah, they,
It's older than that because he wasn't flying it in 2010. He was flying the Tribute. That was the first year that I went to Brodak.
Just for people that are watching out there, a little more history on the plane. Was this, I'm assuming this plane was flown at the Nationals. Was this flown at the Worlds as well? Did Wendy ever?
No, Wendy never was on a world team.
Okay, so this was just a Nationals plane. Did this plane win the Nationals?
No.
No.
It did not. Okay.
Wendy, highest Wendy ever placed was second in 91 or 90.
Okay. Was this a top 5 airplane at the Nats?
I don't know.
Nobody knows.
I think at the Nats he flew that at, he hit a post and knocked the outboard wing. He put a big gash in the outboard wing. I had to repair it.
that was 07.
Yeah.
Oh, this plane has been repaired.
Oh yeah.
Well, you sure can't tell.
Oh, you just put a new wing on. Put a new
Are
wing
you
on.
sure it was the other plane, Bob? Remember you had a plane right after this one that looked very similar?
That
was
might
that
be that one. I thought it was this one, but I know he repaired it.
Yeah. I know the other one. Forgot the other one's called. Like a sister plane. But yeah, it might have been this one that got the outboard wing taken off.
He may have won the concourse with that, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% sure.
Wendy's built video of this model, didn't they? Not the sister plane.
Okay, everybody get a good look at it. We got enough of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess put a towel or something around those wheels to keep those wheels from rolling or something.
Well, it's actually living in my office behind a locked door.
Okay.
I brought it out here to the shop just because
All right.
the light is better. But no, it's in my office with the door locked. So.
Oh, Paul Taylor is on here. I didn't even realize that he's been here since 10/27.
Okay.
Just a few minutes. He says in the 70-ounce range. Let's see. Wait a minute. His first post.
He
looks
just
like,
messaged me and said this plane was never crashed. He crashed.
yeah.
Was
He
it
said, I'll read everything he posted on.
The Valta was crashed.
I'll read everything he posted on YouTube. At 10:22, he posted the wings carbon fiber, air flows out the back, candy apple blue on the canopy. Yeah, I like that canopy. In the 70-ounce range, and he says, no, that was the Novanta.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And then he says, no, exclamation point. This one was never crashed.
Okay.
Okay.
Did he say what year it was made?
Let me go back up and see. If he did, I just read it to you.
No, he didn't. No, I'm looking at it. I don't see it listed.
Okay. I didn't even realize he was posting. I was so focused looking at the plane, and then all of a sudden I realized.
I forgot about the Novanta. Maybe I think that was 07. So that one may be newer than that.
Well, if Paul's watching, maybe he'll chime in if he knows the year. Just watch your comments, Russell.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for the show and tell. That was a treat.
Yeah, that is a treat, man. Wow.
I'm happy to do it, but I can't wait for the guy to come and get it.
Oh, I bet. I bet. Now, when he's moving the controls, are those buttery smooth?
Yeah, the little bit that I wiggled them, they felt pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you get your planes yet or not?
No, I'm going up meeting the guy Tuesday. I gotta meet him up in Kentucky, and then I'll take a look at him and see if I can get him back. He did weigh them for me. He said one weighs 64 and a half, and the other is 67 ounces.
Wow.
It's they're two SV22s. They were built by Alan Goff. One of them's had the gear ripped off it, but it's been repaired. But I think they put fuselage mounted gear back on it instead of wing mounted gear. But the other one apparently only has about 20 flights on it. I'm not sure when the airplane was built, when they were built, but they both came from Alan Goff. And I called Derek Berry yesterday because I asked him about weights, and he said an SB-22, if it's under 70 ounces, it should fly pretty good. So he said they'll fly at 73, but 70's about tops. And then the guy weighed them for me, and like I said, 64 and a half and 67. So
I can tell you what colors they are if Alan Goff built them. They're brown and cream.
No. One silver and
Oh,
one.
Alan Green.
We got two more posts from Paul Taylor. The first one says it is, and the second post was, wait a minute. First he says not sure. Then he posts it is, and then he posts the Novanta was first. So,
Okay.
whatever questions those were, I think about the year, and I'm not sure.
Yeah, I remember the Novanta being second. I mean, I've watched a lot of Wendy videos. I know Paul has watched probably more than I have because I've watched a lot of videos that Paul has posted. But I thought the Novanta was after the Testarossa.
Apparently not.
So I'm going to be hunting a PA 61. If anybody out there has one or knows somebody, I got to get my hands on a rear exhaust PA 61, preferably with a header. What I'm looking for. So just pull one out of the closet if anybody's got one there and ship it to me. I'll mail you a check.
Yeah, if it was side exhaust, Dick has one, but you want rear exhaust.
Yeah, that's what the airplanes were set up for. So I would like to put that back in there. It's my understanding all this kind of stuff is new to me. These types of airplanes and engines, but I was told a PA 65 has the same bolt pattern as a 61.
The big block 40, the 61 and the 65 are all the same case.
Correct. Yeah. And that's Sparky. I tried to ask you this last week, but we got off topic. What's the fuel mileage difference between a 61 and a 65?
About a half ounce.
A half ounce. Okay. All right. Because I don't know what size tanks are in these planes, and
7 ounce tank, you're fine.
I'm sorry. Say again.
Put a 7 ounce tank in it, and you're fine.
Even with a 65.
Yeah, because then you can fill it up to 7 and then draw out a half ounce.
Okay. All right. This is going to be a whole new learning experience for me, flying this type of airplane and these kinds of engines for sure.
I mean, an ounce of headroom in my tank.
Henry Nelson builds the PAs, right?
Not anymore. Used to.
Used to.
He used to.
He stopped doing it a while back.
Okay.
That's when Randy had to stop offering them because he couldn't get stuff from Henry anymore. And then he found somebody overseas, I guess, to do it, or somebody else in the country. I'm not sure where he's getting the parts now, but he got somebody else to do it.
It's the guy. It's the guy who builds the pylon engines. He's doing them.
Well, the guy who builds the pylon engines works for Henry, doesn't he?
No, he bought out Henry.
He did. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because Henry's getting ready. Well, he's trying to make another run of Nelson 36 fast combat engines. I talked to him at the Nats. Actually, quite a few of us did. But he's only got about 10 or 15 guys interested right now, and he needs 50 sold engines. He needs 50 guys to prepay, and they're going to be $390 a piece this time. But until he gets 50 guys, because he can't get the castings done, he can't do 20 of them.
Right.
He's going to do them. He's going to do 50. And the last run he made 3 years ago started out as 50 engines, and he ended up making 104.
Wow.
But
These cases are beautiful. Those investment cast cases, they're gorgeous.
Yeah, I bought one of the new ones on the run. Of course, I still got it sitting in the bag with the oil. I haven't touched it yet because I've got 5 other Nelsons that are good runners. So
I had heard a rumor that Remington was doing the casting.
I don't know anything about that. I just know that that's the hard part for Henry is getting the castings done, and it's the most expensive part. And if he does it, he wants to do a big number. So that's the only way he can make them. But the last run of engines went for $360 a piece. These are $390. So something has increased in his manufacturing cost.
Well, remember, there's only one hobby: spending money.
Yeah.
Al snuck in on us. Hey, Al Ferraro, how you doing tonight, Al?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you doing?
How are things in Millington?
Good. Everything's going great.
Yeah. How's my old house?
What's that?
How's my old house up there on Division Avenue and Valley Road?
I guess it's still there. So what are you guys talking about? You mentioned Henry's engines.
Yeah, he's gonna make some more of them, I guess.
What, the combats or the?
Well, we were talking about PA engines, and I asked if Henry still made them, and then we got on to talking about the last run of Nelson's that he made for fast, and that he's got a list going to make another run, but he needs 50 guys to commit before he'll do it. So I don't think I'm going to get in on this next run because I mean, 6 Nelsons would last me a lifetime, man. I don't think I need more than 6.
But no, I mean, I have 2 combats myself, and I have one of his carrier engines, the 36 big, they call it the big block, and then I have 3 Mark 7s. So it's that, I've been playing with the Mark 7s now. But as far as the PA engines go, Henry did the piston and liners, and somebody else did it, the castings and the cranks and all that stuff. But Henry did the piston and liners.
Well, I'm looking for a PA 61, Al. If you know anybody, rear exhaust with a header. Put the word out.
Well, yeah, I don't know anybody that has one of those. It's.
Put it up. Post on Stunthangar. You're looking for one. Somebody will answer you.
Yeah, I will. I want to get the airplanes first, and I mean, I've got a line on 1 right now, but I'd really like to have 2. I'd like to have 1 for each airplane, just so that I have 2 planes. But I'll settle for 1.
I mean, some of those other new engines, I think, does the 70 that CAS 77 does the same spot? Somebody was talking about that. I don't know if it fits the same spot or not.
I'm not sure. I would really prefer not to be hogging on the airplane when I get it. Trying to refit something else in there.
The 75 has a super tagger size bolt pattern, and the 65 is a narrower, like in a 40 case.
Okay.
So
It's probably an OS 47 or 40, 45 or exhaust bolt pattern, I would bet.
Or the 46 OS VF, that something like that. I mean,
yeah, that's close. The 40, the VF 40 and the VF 46 are probably pretty close to the 61.
Right. And that's supposed to be a folding mode. I mean, I have one in a 80-ounce stunt plane, and it pulls it pretty good. But it's those are strong motors. I don't know how it compares, but you'd have to ask Randy Smith or maybe even Bob would know.
Yeah.
What the 46 does compared to the PA.
Al, do you want to?
Been a long time since I flew. Been a long time since I flew any glow airplanes.
Al, you weren't here for the show and tell, but I've got Wendy's Testarossa in my shop right now.
Oh, cool! Oh, very nice. Now you're the new owner, obviously. I assume.
No, I'm just the middleman. The guy's coming to pick it up tomorrow.
Okay.
So I'm just handing it off. That's all. But I asked the current owner if I could show it tonight on Stunthangar, and he said no problem. So it is.
Is it a secret?
Yeah, well, this is good. It's another little piece of its history that's recorded for however long YouTube lasts.
Who bought it, Mike?
I'm just gonna let the new owner let that cat out of the bag, man.
Okay.
It's really not my deal. I mean, everybody knows Paul's the current owner because he listed it on Stunthangar, but it'll just be a surprise.
Oh, cool.
It's not me, I can tell you that.
I mean, I was almost going to transport that to Brodak because it went from Wendy's house to Brodak, so I guess Paul picked it up.
Mm-hmm.
And we offered to transport it for him, but then he found somebody else, on the way there. Because Wendy's not that far from us. He's in New Jersey, so
Have you talked to Wendy lately, Al?
No, I mean, I don't really know him that well. Just a few, just met him a few times at the flying field.
Okay.
That's like 10 years ago. I never was involved in stunt much. I was just helping our club out, full testing and pushing people up next because we have so many people at the contest flying on one circle. So I was just
on my Stunthangar YouTube page, I had Wendy Ertnowski's motorcycle channel featured as one of the channels up in the top right.
Mm-hmm.
Doing with motorcycle.
He does some beautiful work.
And Wendy and I used to race motorcycles together back in the late 60s and early 70s. We did a lot of racing together.
You still ride it all, Bob?
No, I had to quit because of my back and my neck. If I have one trauma, I could be paralyzed, so I got to be very careful.
Okay.
I had to get rid of all my bikes. I'd sell my Hayabusa, my Beamer, and all of it.
Did I tell you the story about the Hayabusas? What year is your Hayabusa?
It was a 2000. What was it, 20? I forgot what you. 2001.
Well, they put the rev limiter on it, 5th gear rev limiter. But before 99 was the last year of the Hayabusa without the rev limiter.
Yeah, 2000 was. 2000 was. I have a friend who's a Suzuki tech rep, and he said if I ever wanted to change it, he said just clip the pink wire and you give it back all its balls. You know.
Well, when I worked for Whitman Harley Davidson, Suzuki Dual, Kawasaki, we used to unbox them things and then run them up on the freeway on a test ride, and they would do 140 between Broadway and Gasconade, which you don't know how far that is, but it ain't very far. But it would leave you enough room for the extreme braking system those bikes had.
Yep.
But they used to do 200 miles an hour out of the box.
Yep.
Lord.
Yeah. And we do 85 in first gear.
They're unbelievable.
I've got a buddy here in Nashville that owned one, and they stole it right out of his backyard.
Wow.
He had it parked on his patio, and there was an alley at his house. They drove a truck through the alley. They pushed it from the patio to the fence, and they lifted it over the fence and threw it in the back of a truck and drove off.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey Bob, here's a funny story about that Suzuki thing. It was 2000, I think, maybe it was 99, but we were, setting those Suzukis up at the Harley dealership. We were they were a Buell and a V-Rod.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the Harley reps came down when the V-Rod first came out. He said, "Hey, take the V-Rod for the test ride." So Ron Woodman said, "Go ahead." So I took it on the same loop and I run it up and run the throttle all the way to the. It was puking, This thing's on the rev limiter, and so I get back to the shop and he said, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "Well, it's gutless." He said, "Well, what do you mean it's gutless?" I said, "It rides like a buckboard, it steers like a tank, and it's got no balls." He said, "Well, you got to have it up, on the rev limiter." I said, "I had the valves floating on the thing. This thing is slower than shit." After riding a Hayabusa.
Yeah, they're quick. There's no doubt about it. It would do 0 to 60 in 2.2 seconds. It would do 0 to 100 back to 0 in under 10 seconds. And with the front end strapped, it would do 9.75 at 150, just dropping into 4th when you got there. So it had a lot left. It was a really, really fast motorcycle. I loved it.
I dynoed Jesse Gatlin's Hayabusa on our dyno. It was 312 horsepower with all the shit that he had done to his bike. But
yep.
it would do 200 miles an hour in a quarter mile. He was doing 6-second quarters.
Well, that was a work one. They have 200 at the crank stock.
No, yeah, well, this is at the rear wheel. But Jesse Gatlin, if you look up Gatlin Racing, look, he's a little black guy, and they got a lot of money invested in those bikes, and I guess it's from pharmaceutical sales because nobody could afford all that shit he had on his motorcycle. But
bike range
all the time, and he'll run, 6-second quarters on that Hayabusa.
There's let me see that. It's mine.
Let me see. Hang on, man. Oh wow, beautiful.
It was a nice bike.
Wow, yeah, looks
they
like
don't have it anymore.
shaped like a bullet.
Yeah, I put 36,000 miles on that bike. That's a lot on a sport bike.
That's a big motorcycle.
It is. It's a heck of a big motorcycle. It was fun though.
Yeah, my brother was telling me today, I think it's Kawasaki came out with a new 1,000 turbocharged bike. It's going to be for 2019, and it'll be the fastest production bike made. ever made.
Right now, the fastest production bike in the world is the MV Augusta Castiglione. It's the world's fastest production bike now. It does well over 200 miles an hour, but it's also $125,000. So
Shit.
I'm not
Hey,
going
guys, I'm going to chime in here again real quick. I just noticed something on the airplane. Maybe somebody knows. On the outboard aileron here, it says
Chicky.
for Chicky 2000, 2005 till we meet again. Anybody know the story there?
Rescue.
Yeah, the Chicky was his bird that was in his hobby shop.
Yeah, cockatiel. He had a cockatiel, or a parrot, whatever it was. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had the Oriole, wild Oriole.
Yes, it was an Oriole. You're right.
He also had a cockatiel and a parrot, and he had a lot of birds.
Yeah, but yeah, he got his neck caught in the cage somehow and hurt himself bad, and I guess Wendy tried to nurse him back to health and stuff, but he died. He ended up dying from it.
I spent a lot of hours in that shop with that bird and various birds. Yeah.
Hey, has anybody received their new model aviation yet? Paper?
Yep, I got mine.
Yeah.
How's the Brodax coverage in there?
So the
I
cover.
thought it was a pretty good story. I hadn't finished it yet, but they spell some names wrong, you know, that kind of thing. But it was pretty good.
I got Will Davis on the cover. That's teaching a little girl how to fly.
Yeah, that's a great picture.
That's as far as I can get with the digital edition. They only let you preview the first 2 pages. If you get the paper magazine, you got to pay $10 a year to have access to the print.
That sucks, doesn't it?
It does suck, yeah. So I was just
Like
wondering
it's digital.
if Sam made it in there or not, if they had any pictures of him.
Yeah, I think they do.
Okay.
All I got is the digital, so I can't whip it out right now and thumb through the pages, but I'm pretty sure Sam's in there.
Okay.
You could tell it was written by somebody. You could tell it was written by somebody that's not all that familiar with Control Line, but it's still a good article.
Well, her name is Rachel, and
Yeah.
she was at Brodax for 4 days doing
Yeah,
interviews.
she's there every year.
She flew. Will got her on the handle, and she flew the electric ring rat. We had her out there flying. She seemed to have a good time.
Yeah, good.
Oh, Bob, Samantha watched, I don't know, she watches the videos later or whatever. She thought that was really funny. And she said it was true about when I said that I got treated better in France than I do here. You said because you guys know me here. She said that was true.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that thing on YouTube afterwards after you guys did it. I saw Sam on there. She gives you a hard time, doesn't she?
Oh yeah, because I give her one.
She's a good kid.
Well, guys, I'm going to hit it. I got to drive to Muncie tomorrow.
Okay, Sparky. Have a good evening. We'll
Stay
see you
great.
Monday.
See you, Spark. Oh, hey,
See you,
speaking of girls flying Control Line, my daughter got on the handle yesterday.
Oh, good for her.
First time ever. She has never expressed any interest in flying. But there was another little girl out there that did it. So Emma said, Daddy, I want to try. So I put her on the handle.
She knows where the boys are, Mike. I hate to tell you that.
Yeah.
How old is she, Mike?
Emma is 7 years old.
Oh, very nice.
She's 7. So I like to joke that Sam and Emma are 2 Russians I don't mind colluding with. Because they're both Russian adopted. We adopted them from Russia when they were babies.
How did
Wow,
she
very
do?
cool.
How did she do?
But yeah, I think maybe the bug is gonna strike her, and maybe she'll start coming to the field with us. And I've been telling her for years I'd build her a plane, whatever she wants. If she wants a princess pink unicorn airplane, I'll build her one, But maybe we got her sucked in last night. So
It's,
Very cool.
of course I'll make her a combat pilot first before
of course you will.
like combat.
I used to fly against Doug Milo back in the mid-'60s when she was flying. I used to fly every week against her. So,
Okay.
But yeah, Mike, you'll have all kinds of pink and purple stuff. And she's
That's okay, man. If she expresses an interest in it, I'll paint it however she wants. I'll cover it whatever she wants. I don't care.
Well, that was Samantha's World airplane was the first airplane that wasn't pink and purple and reds and them kind of colors.
Yeah.
Well, I had red in it because it's red, white, and blue, but I mean, that was her first airplane that didn't have pink and purple in it. But so
There's hope for us yet.
yeah. That's what my brother always says. Why does she do everything in pink and purple? I said, she's a girl.
Because that's what she wants. Yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, I built a plane that looks like a kitty cat for my 8-year-old little neighbor girl.
I'm always getting busted about doing bronze airplanes. I'm going to bust her about doing pink airplanes, you know?
Yeah.
What, you got a 55-gallon barrel, all that stuff, you know?
Well, she said, too, that she never wanted the colors of her airplane to be like everyone else's. Because you go there, they're always white and red and blue and, or, you know, always white. She always wanted something different, you know, and that's the same thing with you and your bronze.
Yeah.
You walked out there and you seen that airplane, you knew who it belonged to.
Yeah.
You didn't have to say, oh, you know, whose airplane is that?
Tell you a funny story. Do you remember? You might remember, Steve, the bronze Saturn I had.
Yeah.
Well, that was like about this 20th airplane I painted with, you know, white and bronze. When I started doing it in 1972, my father was an automation engineer, and he got a job for U.S. Bronze Powders to package their vials of bronze powders. So they sent him cases and cases of these bronze powders in these little vials. And he said to me, he said, look, he said, I think if you take this copper powder and you pour it in dope and mix it up, you could do it as a trim color. Well, I wasn't too enamored with it, but I said, my dad, he wanted it. So I said, okay. So I painted the first Genesis that way, and he liked it. So I just kept doing it. Well, I had a bunch of them. And over the years, Billy Werwage, who hates the bronze, he hates earth tones, he kept saying, what, you got a 55-gallon barrel of that crap? I don't want to see any more of them, you know? So I just kept doing them to really annoy him more than anything. So in 1993, we got our first golden retriever. So I called him up and I said, guess what, Billy? I even have a bronze dog. He goes, Bob, you got a lot of bronze dogs. Click.
And Bob, my buddy down here lives down here with us now. Bob Zambelli can build some planes and mix up some junk off the shelf and come up with the damnedest ugly colors you ever saw. And, I'm going to be seeing him tomorrow, so I hope he's not watching me say that tonight. But it's the truth.
Well, that was like a buddy of mine. Always painted his airplane school bus yellow.
Wow.
You know, and that's that yellow, you know, orangish yellow, whatever.
Not
it doesn't matter what airplane was built. Everyone knew who built the airplane, and then he had two chevrons on it that were always red and blue that he tied in there on the tail. So, you know, he said back in the day that there would be 100 people flying, and all these. He goes, you could pick out. You knew where you pitted. You could see your airplane. He said, because all these were done in the same color. So he always did his different.
And that's like
color scheme for 40 years. That's the same thing with the bronze. I always liked that bronze, and it's like when you seen the airplane, you knew that's Bob's plane, or that was Bob's plane, one of the two.
Right.
Bob, you know, Doug always did the cream and the orange on his planes.
Who's that?
Doug Benedetti.
Oh yeah.
The beige and the orange.
Yeah.
He built a bunch of that, you know.
Yeah.
Noblers and Thunderbird and the Cavalier, all the same colors.
The paint scheme could be a defining thing, you know. It really can. It can be a very individual thing.
Yeah.
I used to do mine purple. My colours were purple and green. That was my colours, and a guy made up some combat models for me, knowing that they always were purple, and he gave them all purple tails, which was quite neat.
Is that a Super Ringmaster?
Yeah, Super Ringmaster. This one's from the 80s. I built it back in the 80s.
I had one I built in the 60s.
You know, that's my history. I don't go back to the 60s, but when I first started building, it was one of the first models I built back in the 80s.
16 on its tail too, isn't it?
Yeah, the shoestring, yeah. But I've got to go. Nick keeps reminding me he wants me to do all these other jobs. He's wishing on some puppets, and I've got to get ready for flying in the morning. So I've got to quit the show now. And
all right. Well, thanks, Gerald. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good.
Good to see you, man.
Take care.
Bob, when you're talking about
better weather now, aren't you? Oh, he's gone. Yeah, I think his weather's turning around, getting better now. They're coming into the spring of the year, so it'll be a little bit better.
when you're
Now,
talking
wasn't John Tavio always orange planes?
Orange, yeah. Well, everybody in the East Coast in the 60s had orange airplanes. And it was a really funny thing because they had originality points back then. And if anybody didn't have an orange airplane, they didn't get originality points.
How was that original, baby, but it has orange?
I know, that's what I'm saying. It was an oxymoron. You know? you go to a contest at Union or something and you'd see literally 20 orange airplanes.
And how many points would it be worth?
Well, back in those days, it was 40 points. You had originality, realism, finish, and workmanship. They had 10 points each. It was 40 possible points. And you would think that everybody would try to do something original, but they all built orange airplanes.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of those I think it's the Sky Dancer, Will and Curtis and White and all those guys were building Sky. Seeing some orange pictures of those.
what happened?
What you doing, Mike?
Well, I like orange myself. I think it's easy to see in the air.
It is.
Or it was
orange. I had an orange Mustang, a Vico Mustang. I think that's the only orange airplane I ever had.
But yeah, that's pretty funny though with originality points.
Yeah, and everybody builds. If you didn't build an orange airplane, you didn't get originality points. I don't understand that. You know,
because the first original airplane was orange, I guess.
Hey, Mike, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you ever find out why the engine on your plane locked up when you had to land it in the cow pasture the other week?
Oh, my powered paraglider?
Yeah.
No, I have not had a chance to split the case yet and figure out what's going on. I either launched a piston or I spun a main bearing, crank bearing. It's got to be one of the two. That's the only reason it would lock up like that.
Yeah.
I replaced the redrive bearings earlier this summer, and I probably should have replaced the crank bearings because I got a little over 300 hours on that thing, but the life on them is 350. They tell you to change it to 350. So I thought I had another flying season at least, but that's my suspicion is that crank bearing went out on me.
When an engine locks up like that at speed, what kind of damage can it do to things like motor mounts and the prop or everything else around it?
Well, I mean, if the bearings seized and slowed the crank down, because it didn't really just go.
It wasn't just bang.
Stop, like a dead stop. It just kind of, it sounded like it had a heavy load on it. And
yeah.
Struggling. Like that.
It was soft then, yeah.
But I mean, if it stopped cold, that you could break a crank probably.
Is that a 2-cycle?
Yeah, it's a 28 horse single cylinder 2-stroke. It's called a Simonini engine. They're German. And the nice thing about it is they've been making them for about 15 years and they still make them and parts are super easy to get for them. So I'm going to start by pulling the jug off it. And if the piston and the connecting rod's okay, then I'll split the case and get in there. And
what kind of oil you running in it?
Castrol TTS, and I run it at 32-1. A lot of guys are running 40-1. I tend to run mine with a little more oil just because I like the lubrication. I go, I foul out more plugs that way, but I don't want to seize it, which I did anyway. So
get you some AMS oil, 2-cycle oil. When I used to run motocross bikes and stuff like that, I could run a damn spark plug for a couple years without following it.
Okay. Well, I got to say, most of the guys flying these powered paragliders swear by the Castrol TTS.
350 hours, that ain't nothing on a motor. I mean, you're not getting good lubrication if you're wearing that thing out with with only 350 hours.
Well, I mean, there's a redrive and a pulley to the prop. So, and you got to have, 28 foot-pounds of pressure on the belt. So there's a lot going on between the two pulleys. That's why my suspicion is that it was a crank bearing.
Crank bearing.
Yeah, that's what I think. I don't think it's the piston. I think it's a crank bearing. I haven't had time to get it apart because kids were out of school. It's summertime. I was entertaining them. They're back in school now, and I should have some time to get out here because if I can get it, I want to salvage the season. I mean, we can fly all the way till Thanksgiving here. So if I get on it, the parts can be here in like 2 days once I mean, it's really like a 3-day job. If I take it apart, I can get the parts in a day or two and then put it back together. It's not, anything major. But
It's just a plain bushing type bearing. Is that it?
No, it's not it's a ball bearing.
Oh, it is a ball bearing. Okay.
A race. I mean, it's got a race. It looks like it looks like the bearings in the fidget spinners that these kids
Oh, yeah.
But I'll get back in here eventually. I've been missing out on quite a bit of flying. The guys are out there every weekend. There's about 12 of us here in Nashville that fly pretty regularly at an airport that's about 15 minutes from my house. So I am getting pretty sick of watching all their videos of them flying, and I'm not out there with them.
I wonder how our friend in Canada, Daryl's doing. He was fixing his plane. He's got a little experimental. I think he's got several of them.
Daryl hasn't been on here in a while.
No, he hadn't.
Hey guys, I gotta go and take my dog out. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. I gotta let her out.
All right. I need to check his YouTube channel and see what's going on. I know he's posted a couple of videos fairly recently.
What happened to your video, Mike?
I'm answering a text.
Oh.
Sorry. I'm getting text messages from the scout leader.
I'll tell you what, though, if you ever use the AMSOIL 2-cycle oil, you'll never go put it in anything that's 2-cycle. Use it. Anything else?
Well, I'll check on the forums. I'll check on the PPG forums and see if anybody's out there got any experience with it. But most of these guys, we all swear by the Castrol TTS, man. I mean, that's just that seems to be the standard,
If you get on look at racing, people who race 2-cycles and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, we're not racing them. And these are flying engines. We fly with these things, so we're not really dogging the hell out of them and hopping them up because you don't fly full throttle all the time anyway. Most of the time, you get up 500 feet and then you're flying around at a third throttle or maybe half throttle just to buzz around. You only really redline them when you're taking off, or you want to climb. If you want to go up to 5,000 or 8,000 feet or something like that, then you got to stay on power the whole time. But most of the time, we baby them.
Yeah, well, if the oil will hold up to racing, it'll hold up to anything.
I'm sure it will.
That's why if you look at that's like Mobile One, that was developed for NASCAR, and that's why they could get their back when they used to qualify, and they could do a qualifying setup and stuff like that. That the people running Mobile One won all the time because they wouldn't blow their engines up.
Right on.
That's anything with AMSOIL. A buddy of mine's dad's a farmer. He has a Ford, some kind of a Ford 6-cylinder engine and some kind of corn dryer, and I'm not sure exactly how it works, but they do something before it goes in the silo. And he rebuilt that engine every year for so many years. Somebody with AMSOIL, I don't know, had him try it. He's at 6 years now and hasn't had to rebuild the engine.
Wow.
I'm gonna step away just a minute. I'll be right back.
That's how much better that oil is over whatever else he was using. But they have a semi truck. They put 1 million miles on it without changing the oil. All they did was change the filter and then add. And they went 1 million miles on a.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive.
I use nothing but Mobile One on my Astrovan, and I had over 300,000 miles on that and zero engine trouble. So
Right. That's what I'm saying is that these synthetics are so much better than some of this other stuff. It's like, because my snowblower is still 2-cycle and stuff. That thing it's a Toro. My dad's been gone 10 years, so that means that thing is probably 11 or 12 years old. And it's the original spark plug in it.
wow.
A 2-cycle. I mean, you just don't get that. It doesn't foul. The thing still runs as good as it ever did. But yeah, there's so much technology in the new oils that's just crazy how they work.
Yeah,
Will it
but
mix with methanol?
I noticed the problem with synthetics, so I tried it in some of my vehicles, and it synthetic burns. If you go like from a conventional oil, I had like a 6-cylinder 2007 Mustang V6. Didn't burn a drop of oil. I put synthetic in it. By the end of the oil change, 4,000 miles, it would burn a quart of oil.
I had just the opposite with the Astrovan. It didn't burn a drop.
Really?
Yeah, 300,000 miles. I sold it to a guy, and he's still running it. I sold it several years, about 8 years ago, and he's still running it.
And I bought a brand new 2010 Camaro V6 and put synthetic oil in it. It burnt a quart of oil every 1,000 miles. And then
What kind of oil were you using?
The regular, whatever, they called for, synthetic, I was using the Mobile One.
Oh,
And,
because like my truck now, it's been 1 year.
Yeah.
And I bet you it's not down. I'll say it did use some. It's down below where the fill mark is at.
Right.
It probably is a quarter of a pint. Maybe we'll bring it back, or a pint. And that's 1 year on that oil because it's good for 15,000 miles. And I don't put that on my truck. They say 1 year, 15,000.
Right.
And I've never had to add any oil to it.
I change the oil every 4,000 miles, and I just use the conventional or the synthetic blend, but never all synthetic. I had a bad experience. Like I said, it disappears.
That's some ceiling fan you have there, Mike.
And then,
You like that?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. There's kind of a cool story on that. Apparently they sold those back in the early 90s at Home Depot.
Yeah, I seen them. They had that one, and I think they had a Focke Wolf, and
there's a P40. I know there's
I
a
have a
P40.
P40. Yes.
A buddy of mine that flies Control Line, that was actually a store display after they sold out, and he talked them into selling that to him.
I like it. I like it because it's electric.
Always got to get a word in sideways, don't you, Bob?
Bob, I wasn't going to say nothing to Mike. It's up to him what he does, but I would have bought an SV11 from Brodak, the electric version, and put it in electric. And
Why would you like it, Flan?
as far as he ever needed to go.
What are we talking?
I got a question for Al. Is it normal for turbocharged engines, like, for instance, my wife's 2008 2OT Passat, to burn oil, to use oil? Because her car goes through oil at a ridiculous rate, and she uses pure synthetic.
Yeah.
Does she cool off the turbocharger?
She doesn't really use that turbocharger much.
Right.
It doesn't. Now, my ex-brother-in-law, with his, it was a a Dodge, but I think it was made by Mitsubishi or whatever, the engine and the turbocharger.
Yeah.
That
First might be made by Audi. I'm not sure.
you had to run the motor for so long, he found out, when you got done driving it, just to let the turbocharger cool down, or it'll burn your oil up in your turbocharger, and you think you're burning oil in the engine, but it's actually baking it in that turbocharger. But I don't know about the new ones, if they run cooler or whatever, but they're turned by your exhaust gases, and no matter if you're really into the throttle or not, you're still got some really hot gases heating up the turbocharger.
Yeah, that's right.
Rusty,
Well, I've been told by most
does the vehicle call for synthetic?
Pardon me?
Does the vehicle call for synthetic? Your wife's car.
It does.
Then you got to use it, but then I would use it, but I don't know why it would be used.
The exhaust pipe's always smutty inside too. That was the first thing I noticed about that car. Does that go with turbocharger?
If it's burning the oil up inside the turbocharger, it's got to go through the turbocharger to get out into the exhaust pipe.
Right after she bought that car and I noticed it had smutty exhaust, I went around and like the grocery store parking lot and looked at tailpipes on other cars with turbochargers, and my tip would come out black from them too. So I didn't worry too much about it after I saw Lexus and everything else doing it.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I know that at the shop and stuff like that they were buying the new Fords with turbochargers in them, and now they're going back to a V8. They're supposed to have more power, better gas mileage, and stuff like that, but they've been having problems with them, and I kind of wonder if it's a deal to where you got to cool the turbocharger down and stuff, and you sit there and boil oil inside that turbocharger all the time. It's going to get thick and get on everything and bearings and everything else. Kind of like castor oil.
Yeah, the turbos are hard on the engine, on the oils, but
yeah. But my little Ford van, that little Connect, it's got, I don't know, 190,000 on it. They're retiring them at 300,000, and we change the oil every 7,500 with Motorcraft semi-synthetic, and they have not had one motor had to do anything to it in that 300,000. I think we've had 8 of them now retired.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, the oil technology, these new motors, it's crazy. I remember that when I was a kid, you could pick up a Ford or a Chevy if it had 65,000 on it. You could pick them up really cheap, and my dad was always like, "Why are you buying these damn junk cars? See how many miles are on that thing? It's almost 70,000."
Yeah, man.
They're not even broken in at that.
My Mazda was the finest little car that I ever had, and I sold it to Wayne, and my flying buddy Wayne, and it's still going. He loves it. He says it reminds him of his old Porsches, and he used to autocross with them. And
Robinson?
Yeah.
Good guy.
He's my coach and flying buddy.
Say hello to him for me. He's a good guy. I met him at
well, yeah.
What was that?
Hey, Rusty.
Yes.
Do you remember that ringmaster that the Japanese gentleman gave to Sam at Brodax that I showed you a while ago? Well,
yeah.
We were stuck, I told you guys how light it was. I got it down and I got a scale out, so I'm going to weigh it because we never did figure out. But anyway, this is a take-apart ringmaster that Masahiro, what's his name? Masahiro Matsui flew over from Japan with this airplane and assembled it at Brodax, and he flew it all week at Brodax, and on the last day he took the engine off and he gave it to Sam because he didn't want to get back.
Wow. Yeah.
He's a friend of Kaz Minato. He was there with Kaz at Brodax this year. But this is Japanese tissue on here, he said, and it's all take apart. and this is about the lightest ringmaster I think I've ever seen in my life.
A take-apart ringmaster, though. There's something interesting.
Yeah. Mike
Yeah.
Griffin was making those for a while last summer or so. Maybe it was summer before.
There's a bolt there on the fuselage.
Yeah.
There's a bolt there on the fuselage. That's the wing saddle.
Okay.
There's how the elevator comes off, right there. I'll get it flipped around here to the other side. So that's how you get your elevator out.
Yeah.
Of course, the landing gear tanks comes off, and then he gave me a nifty little tool. You slide that fuel tubing out of the way, and he's got a little tool that he uses to unthread the push rod.
Mhm.
And then that's pretty neat design tank too. He built this tank. It's got a wedge towards the back. It's wedged out more. But anyway, I'm gonna throw it on the scale here. No engine.
Yeah.
But everything.
Wayne trimmed a couple of Mike Griffin's prototypes, take apart ringmasters. I don't think they were exactly the same as that though. And I don't know if Mike ever started producing them.
I'm showing 16 ounces.
Wow.
That's pretty light, huh? What's
Yeah.
an LA 25?
With an engine is about what, 22 ounces?
I'm assuming he had.
The engine is going to be about 6 ounces.
6-ounce engine.
He had an LA 25 on it.
Yeah, it's about. I think that's around 6 ounces with a tongue muffler.
You got a prop too, then, you know.
Yeah.
So still 16-ounce ringmaster, all up. Well, not all up.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It'll come 24, 26 ounces. It'll fly well.
It's a work of art too. Let me tell you, the guy did a nice job on it, for sure.
Yeah, the ones that Wayne had were not in a production finish, so they weren't all that pretty, but the point was just to trim it and report back to Mike on it.
Yeah, I need to hang a motor on this thing so we can go fly it.
Actually,
my electric ringmaster weighs in, I think, 23 ounces.
Actually, Mike's were electric. I had forgotten that until just now.
That's battery up and everything. And I mean, everybody who's flown that airplane says it's the best flying ringmaster they ever flown.
I just noticed we missed George Gonzalez from Colombia, South America. He's joined us on YouTube a while ago. He got on, well, about 10, 12 minutes ago. So, hi, George. Glad to have you with us.
Well,
thank you.
Hi, George.
Have you got your stuff from Igor yet, Bob?
No, not yet. Apparently, he's got they're redoing everything. They got a new Spin 66 ES they're making for him, and he's also making a new timer. Everything's being upgraded to the newest specs, so it's taking a while to get it.
Yeah, we got Samantha got one of his new timers. It was one of the first ones out and stuff. That I don't know if it was a production. I mean, a test run of them or.
Has she flown it yet?
Yeah, that's what she flew at the Worlds.
Oh, how'd she like it?
Really did. We didn't have enough time with it. At the end, we started setting it up like the Germans and the Chinese set up theirs, and which is
that less active or more active?
It's more active, but less. They limit how far it'll come up on RPM.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't go down as far as they did. A lot of these guys are only, like, say if you launch at, we'll pick a number, 9,000 RPMs. They would limit the RPM then to 9,100 or 9,200 RPM.
Okay.
And they'd let the for it to come down in RPM by a couple thousand RPM.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the first time I flew one of those active timers was in Joe Daly's rounder when I built for him. And he had one of the Fioretti timers in there. And I was kind of poo-pooing the idea that these things were necessary because I've been flying the Human timer and it was working well. for me. And then I flew that. And when I did the first outside square, I said to myself, this thing is going to extend a lot of careers because it just comes down that leg so slow, and you have time to place it right where you want to place it. And then the torque is instantly on again. So that's an amazing system, you know, both of them.
You know, so that's what we ended up doing. We first had it set up like Paul Walker sets his up.
Mm-hmm.
But Samantha didn't like it as well as what, you know, I mean, the world champion, the Chinese guy won that. That's how he had his set up.
Mark,
Chinese, you know, but they're using less back now. They all run the Igor motor and everything, but they run it on 5-cell. And
yeah,
the Chinese,
they're probably using 11-inch props too.
Yeah, but what they said is that the voltage, because I use a lot of battery with that motor and stuff, and it gets hotter than hell.
What prop are you running?
That 11.3/5 pitch of Igor's.
Okay, the flat back.
No, the hollow ground.
Are you okay? Well, yeah, it's hollow, but it's flat back. It's not the undercamber prop, right?
No, it's the undercamber one.
Okay, that's going to eat up some power.
Well, with the Chinese, now what they're saying is that if you use the 5-cell, it works better with that motor.
Mm-hmm.
And you use less battery and less heat by going to a 5-cell.
That's what Paul told me. I had a long talk with Paul Walker last week about my new airplane. It's going to be very light. And he said, go to the 5-cell and go to the 11-inch flatback prop, the hollow flatback. And he said, you're going to be very happy. So that's what I'm doing. Well, you won't build up any heat either. So.
Oh, yeah. Do I have? I think. Yeah, I do. Or is that a 12-inch? I think that the flatback is a 12-inch. I'd have to go. I'd have to measure.
Flatback 11 too. He does.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. I got watered.
Because Igor said either the undercamber one or do the bigger with the flatback.
And undercamber eats up a lot of juice, and it does generate more heat, obviously. So, you know, and it's necessary if your airplane's 64 ounces or better. But if my new airplane's going to be about 58 ounces with the battery on board, so it'll be plenty light.
But the Germans and the Chinese and everything, they were running 11-inch undercamber.
Yeah.
They said that it when you turned the corner and it came up, it had the power. It didn't slip.
Mm-hmm.
They said the other one slips more or something but how they're doing it they're not allowing the RPM to come up very high.
Yeah, everybody's running a little different. You know, Paul used to run it very active, and now he's running it very inactive. You know.
Right.
I gotta go. I'm out, guys.
Take it easy, Mike.
All right, man. See you later, Mike. Thanks for
I got
show and telling up.
Kids, I'll see y'all next week.
Okay.
All right, man.
Did you order one of the undercamber props, Bob?
I just got the flatbacks.
If you want an undercamber, I'll send you one to test.
All right. Well, I think that Tom Luciano may have one. I've been flying a lot of his stuff lately.
Oh, okay. Yeah, try it. I mean, I was impressed by how that air in wind or whatever, if you get gusty wind, and you got to pull across the top, that undercamber, I think kicks it and just pulls it right through. It's just crazy.
The active timer itself is such an improvement over anything we've ever had, you know. And then, you know, you have to mess around with the prop to match it to the airframe. But
yeah,
like I said, I flew Luciano's the other night. He had a 12-inch on his, and he has a 6-cell, and it's as nice a setup as I've ever flown.
Yeah,
but he's fighting the heat problem too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got that Axie in there, the Igor Axie. I'm going to be flying the 1518 or 1522 Plet, which, you know, and I also have a annular inlet around the spinner, so I'm getting air right through the motor mount into the motor. So I'm going to be running a lot cooler.
Yeah, see, I had to do that with Samantha's. I spent $70 on a damn spinner and setup for that Axie motor because I was running 160 degrees on that thing. And no way I was going to push that kind of temp. So we got that, and it cooled it down about in the high 140.
I'll tell you what, those twins that we were running, I don't know what it was about them, but those never hit 100 degrees. They were under 100 degrees.
What I found out is like, you know, here's the motor from Brodak, and they make the other size 40 motor that's a lot smaller, thinner.
What's that? A 32 case?
What?
2 millimeter.
2820.
That's a 28. It just looks bigger on screen.
Yeah. But what I found out is that the Brodak one, the first one, or the Aero Wind, runs cooler than the new one. And I think it's because more air can go through that motor. It has more diameter and more holes to cool it, where that Axie is.
As long as your motor mount allows the air to get through the motor mount. You have to have it.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, and that's the only thing I can think of is that Axie is so narrow and long that that's where it builds heat.
The only electric motor I ever had trouble with was an Axie. The only one I ever had trouble with. And I rear mounted it, and what happened was I flew it a lot, and then eventually the bearing didn't go, but the bearing mount did. It had all that spinning mass ahead of the mount. You know, the mass of the motor and the prop and the processive loads on the prop, and everything was cantilevered in front of the mount. So eventually, it just coned out the bearing mount. It actually moved the metal, and the bearing was spinning in the mount. Made the most god-awful noise you ever heard in your life.
Yeah.
And then that's when I switched to front mounts, and I've never had a problem since.
Well, yeah, see, that was what I thought when we built Samantha's airplane, is that it was going to be a front mount. And I bought the Cobra motor, a lot bigger around. But how Paul designs his front end, and that's what Chris Rudd uses, you got to take the motor and push through the spinner ring and then put it up in there and then mount it on the rear. Well, when you do it like that, you're not putting in a bigger, you know, this motor isn't going to fit in there. It can't go through the hole.
But everybody's using the smaller diameter motors now anyway. Nobody's using 32s anymore at all. They're all using the 28s or smaller. So, I'm sure these glow guys are getting a little burned out listening to electric stuff. So.
Yeah, I'm falling asleep.
Yeah. I don't even know what heck you're talking about half the time.
They just zapped me with some electricity, wake me back up.
It's the future, guys.
Hey, Bob, what it is, we should be falling asleep because we don't got to scratch our heads and get all wound up because we don't have a good motor run.
You fly whatever you like.
I definitely.
I've been seeing a lot of electrics having problems lately. A lot of problems.
Bob Bishop just typed in gyroscopic loads.
What do you mean by a lot of electrics having problems? I don't understand what you mean.
Oh, you're just flying along, overheating, sagging, you know, all kinds of stuff.
That's a problem with people not understanding how to set them up properly.
Well, yeah, well, the more people that are using them, you know, you know.
They're just throwing stuff in and thinking, you know, you can throw anything in and make it work. You can't do that. You got to. It's like anything else. You got to have everything matched. You know?
Yeah.
Bob Bishop says gyroscopic loads can be significant.
But anyway,
people running too many cells on too high a kV and they're burning them up. You know.
Yeah.
You know, they hear people say, "Well, you got to go to 5-cell motors," but they don't change the kV of the motor to match the battery. Then they're going to burn it up. You know.
Or they run too big of a prop on it, or
don't have any cooling, and you know.
Yeah.
That's like anything else. You got to learn. You got to learn everything.
You got to learn the combination.
Yeah.
The guys that are flying at the Nats and at the Worlds are not having trouble. So.
I had a friend who was into racing cars, electric cars, and he gave me. He died. But I inherited a bag of motors and all kinds of stuff that went with those cars, suspension parts and all. And we're donating now to the education center at Triple Tree, so I got a big box of stuff to take up there tomorrow. And it just occurred to me, I had all those motors and circuits and stuff, and I wonder if those same motors would be good for aircraft. Is anybody got a clue?
You have to look at the kV on them, you know, find out. And you got to match it. The electric motor doesn't know what it's in. It doesn't know what it's in an airplane, car, or a helicopter, or whatever.
I'll take them up there and let some people look at them, and if they're good, I'll leave 'em.
Usually the car motors are in runners, and then you'd have to use a gear reduction on them for airplanes.
These are in runners, yeah.
Yeah,
There's some in runners that you don't have to do that with. Like Mikey Palco had an in runner in that Mustang for years, and he didn't have a gear on it. It was just an in runner.
With mine being designed for cars, I bet the shaft speed's wrong, though, so probably have to have a gear set.
Palco's played one year. The engine came out of that Brodak.
Oh, wow.
He broke the motor mount. He hit the nose and broke the motor mount.
It was on takeoff. I think it was right on takeoff.
Yeah, I was talking. I had to send him a mount. He said it broke the mount.
Okay.
I have a question, you guys. I have a Vector ARF that I flew years ago and done a contest, and then the elevator wasn't moving, just the flaps were moving. So I took a look at it yesterday, and I could hear the push rod kind of flopping near the flap horn. And so I'm thinking about cutting into it to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, should I make cut a circle, or if you guys, I think cutting squares or rectangles aren't really good.
It's a ARF.
Yeah, it's an ARF.
Pull the canopy off.
Okay.
And then
if you ever have to make a hatch and cut a hatch, it doesn't matter if it's a circle or a square. But what you want to do is a pumpkin cut. You know how when you did pumpkins when you were a kid and you cut them at an angle?
Yeah.
So that when you pull that piece out, when you glue it back in, it'll sit right back in place.
Oh, okay.
But if you take on that ARF, because I've had to do it before, if you're careful and get a X-Acto underneath that canopy, and it's God, I can't think of the kind of glue, but it isn't. You can start cutting it and then pull it out, and you can take the canopy off, and then cut it down in the bottom of it, and pull that out, and then you can see right down on top of your flap horn and everything else.
Okay.
Take a look at it that way.
It's the older Vector ARF?
Yeah, it's an older. Yes, it must be the old one.
And what are you going at? Why are you going after the bell crank?
Well, because there's a disconnect between the flap horn and the elevator horn. Okay. And I think the push rod is disconnected at the flap horn, I suspect. Because when I was shaking, I could hear the louder clinging near the flap horn. So I think it's still connected at the elevator.
While you're in there, put a drop of CA on the crimps on the lead outs.
Yeah, the control systems in those ARFs are awful.
Okay.
You know, like on the, you know, at the bell crank, you know, the lead outs are crimped. So while you're there, you have it open. Drop CA on the crimps.
I don't think I'm going to have. I don't think I'm going to see the bell crank.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah, I'm just hoping to see the push rod between the flap and the elevator. That push rod, that long one. Okay. That one's flapping around.
Doug made me cut mine open. You know, he said, you know, I did from the bottom of the wing. You know, we figured out where the bell crank was, and I did like what Bob said. You know, did a pumpkin cut to find where the lead outs were and put a drop of CA on them. Because they're noted to pull out.
Now the other thing is, do you know if that had ball links on it?
Yeah, I built it. I built the ARF. It was a birthday gift like 4 or 5 years ago.
Did it have ball links?
No, I installed ball links. It didn't come with them.
Oh, okay.
So the lead outs?
What?
Did it come with the lead outs already done, or you did them?
Yeah, the lead outs were already done.
Right.
I did it really quick and dirty. I didn't really do much. I mean, that's the only ARF that I have not modified.
Right.
Except for maybe some ball links.
Well, Davis just finished a brand new Vector ARF, and I think he's going to maiden it tomorrow. I'm pretty sure it hadn't flown, but he said he put new. He said it actually had the best controls in it he'd seen in a Brodak ARF, but he did put some CA in where they had been swaged. And that's the first I've heard of that. I always thought it was a bad idea, causes stress risers and wears them out early and all that kind of
Number of people were building those ARF Noblers, those top flight Noblers, and those things just had horrible control.
Those were nasty.
Terrible.
They
I
were.
had 3 or 4 of those. Well, I can.
My bell crank in my Nobler looked like it had been punched out of a Silverstone frying pan or something. That stuff got all over
I
the
remember
inside.
that one. I had
It
2 of those.
opened it up and looked inside. It looked like stars all over the inside of the
Yeah, I know.
cavity.
And stuff would actually come off. I heard people had that stuff all like powder in their planes after a while. It comes off.
Yeah.
I tell you, some of those fly pretty good though. I
they do fly good.
Out, put new and
No, the airplane was fine. It was just the control system was terrible.
yeah. The plane flew good.
Hey, Charles, when you pop off the canopy and get down in there, I bet your ball link popped off the ball.
All right, I'll check it out because I've been looking at it because my Strega now is dead, you know, because I sent my motor to sent the stalker to Tom Dixon, and then today I put the K77 in the Strega. I went flying today, and the motor got hot, and now when I turn it over, it doesn't feel right. I can tell something's not right with that motor. So I don't know what's wrong with that.
What fuel are you using?
I've used all different kinds of fuel in that K77. For the most part, I set it up like Casminato recommended, and that didn't work very well. So then I put a little less oil in it. I thought maybe it didn't like oil. It's all synthetic, like Cas recommends.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. It's a brand new motor.
The guy I got it from, he said it was pretty much brand new. It looked brand new when I had it. It probably was brand new when I got the motor like 6, 7, 8 months ago.
Have you tried to restart it and run it?
There's something wrong with that motor. I don't want to start it. I actually am thinking about taking the rear cover plate and looking at it. And I called Randy Smith to see if he had any parts. He said he didn't have any parts, but I could send it to him and he would tell me what was wrong with it, but I would need to get parts from Casminato. So when he told me that, I'm thinking, well, this is not going to be a quick and dirty project. So
what, you hear grinding, or what are you?
When I turn the prop, it gets to a point where it almost like stops. I mean, I can push it through, but you know, I don't want to. You know what I mean?
This is a AAC or ABC motor?
You know, I don't know what the K77 is.
Top dead center, it gets tight?
Yeah, right before you get to the top dead center.
That's normal.
That's a good thing.
Normal to me.
That's a good thing.
It's breaking in good.
They have tapered liners, and the piston will actually pinch right at the top.
Yeah, but it's pinching very significantly.
Oh, yeah, right. We had them squeak, and that's how I want them when I'm used to.
When they're dry, they'll squeak.
Yeah.
So get Marvel Mystery Air 2 oil.
I have that.
Okay, take the glow plug out and put some of that in there. All right.
Okay.
Okay, and then take your heat gun and heat up the engine. You know, take a Monaco gun and heat up the head of the engine. You know, and then wear like a mitten. You know, so hold the case and then try to turn it through like that. You know, like see if it. You know, once you heat it up, then turn it through, and then it just work. It sounds to me like that engine needs to be broken in more.
Yeah, a lot more.
Yeah.
The best OPSs I ever had when I was running OPSs back in the 90s, they were like, you almost couldn't pull them through. They would squeak. Right. Not to go, and that's how we wanted them, you know.
Right.
That's how the little half-A Norvell 061s are, too, is they're just, you don't want to turn them through top dead center until after you've run that engine a few times.
Actually, my slow rat engines, racing engines, or car engines, and the pinch is so tight that even if before I start them, I heat them up to 200 degrees.
Yeah.
Before I start them, I have my my engine stand. I run an extension cord out there. I heat the engine up to 200 degrees. I start it up and I run it, and and I have to run it into like a wet 2 cycle. Their ABCs are so tight, and until you get a few runs on it before you you don't dare pull them through.
Probably be good to lower compression.
That motor has a leak.
Lower compression before you do all that too.
And I put air tool oil on it, and then after I'm done running and breaking in, I take the head off, and I take a cotton swab with air tool oil on it, and I go inside and take all the black stuff out. You know, whatever, you know, just swab around inside the case, around the headliner, top of the piston, on the head. Just swab around with air tool oil and put it back together. Heat it up again and flip it through, and you know, then just go proceed with your braking. But it sounds like that engine needs to be broken in more.
Yeah, that's what it is, Charles.
But Cass says on his website, you don't need to break that motor in. Maybe just bench run it 3 times, and go fly it.
But it's okay to have it that tight. That's not unusual. An AAC or ABC motor.
A lot of engines are meant to be broken in on the airframe too.
If they don't, they're no good.
AACs are extra tight. ABCs are pretty tight.
ABCs are very tight.
Yeah,
Going back down to the little Norvels I was talking about, they're meant to be broken in on the airframe, and they keep getting faster and faster the whole first year you fly the things.
Yeah, they tell you in the instructions, put oil in it and let it soak overnight before you start it. And the instructions for the Norvels.
Yeah, that's just like my Merlin 40. If I over prime, or Samantha's, but if we over prime it to start it, that son of a bitch will lock up. It squeaks so hard that you can't even pull it through. And it's like, I'll sit back and just whack it. Bam, then it'll take off and run. When it comes down, it's fine. But if you get too much fuel in that thing before you start it,
you can bend the rod.
That pinch comes back to where you can't even hardly turn the motor through.
All the alcohol is washing the oil away.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's encouraging. Maybe nothing wrong with the motor. I had actually just ran it, and then I was trying to see the upper limit of how fast it can go because I was tacking it, and I went up and didn't like it, and then I tried to slow it down, and then it got hot and it stopped.
That
when I
engine's
turned it over, it didn't feel right when I was turning it over.
Yeah, just run it again.
But try running on the ground with less prop.
Yeah.
You put less prop, run it on the ground, but do it like I said. But first, put air tool oil in it and heat it up, you know, in your hand before you even start it. And
what prop are you running on that, Charles?
A big prop.
Yeah, you're gonna have to have a 4-pitch on it or less.
Put like a 10-4 or 11-4 and run it at
4-10-5.
When you break those in, you don't want to break them in at a 4 cycle. You want to break them in at a 2 cycle.
They need the heat. Yeah, they need the heat.
All right, I'll try it because right now I'm.
No, you stress that. You stress that engine with that big prop on there and running it out, and it's a new motor.
Well, you know, I mean, I think I must have at least 25 flights on that motor.
Yeah.
But you gotta figure. Rich Oliver, his motor is a 2010. It's the original motor he built, and he's still flying it. They take so long to break in, and then they run forever. I was talking to Dave Fitzgerald, and I forget how many thousands of flights he has on his 75.
Yeah. I think last I heard he has 2,200 flights.
So I mean, 20 flights is nothing.
My oldest,
broke in.
My oldest, most ancient Big MiG turns 30,000 RPMs. I mean, it's faster and faster every time I fly it from the time it was brand new.
But yeah, put a 4-pitch on that and run that up 10,400, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what that motor is made to run at. It's not made to run at 8,000 RPM.
And then run it for like 2 minutes, and then let it cool down, and then do it again.
Okay. All right.
And then, but like I said, heat it up first.
I will.
I
got all that stuff. I got the heat gun and the mystery oil and all that.
Don't do it dry. I had a guy that, like I was telling you about these. There were car engines that I used in slow ride, Go 25, and a guy told me, he says, "Oh, I couldn't break. We only run a 6-inch prop on that." Or 7-inch prop, a 7.6. So and we're spinning like 28,000 RPMs. But he says, "Oh, Al, I couldn't turn it over, so I got an 11-inch prop I put on the front, and I turned it over." I go, "Oh my God, you know, don't do that." You know, I said, "Give me the engine, I'll break it in for you." You know, but it's I do.
All right, well, that's encouraging. I'll try it.
Yeah.
I'll take it off the plane and put it on the bench, and
Right.
I'll run it
back off the pitch though. You don't put a 6-pitch or a 5-pitch on that thing.
Okay. I have all that.
Well, I mean, that's a big motor. You could put a 10.5 on that and break it in with that. You know.
No, I mean flying it when he flies it in his airplane.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Don't put no 13.6 on it or whatever like you do a Strega motor. Or a stock motor, I mean. Yeah,
Okay.
stock motor. They're totally different beasts. They take a different prop.
Right. Is that more like a higher RPM?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's I never ran anything that big, but
yeah, the K77 is supposed to be like a PA75 clone.
Okay.
When you're running when you were running the OPS and stuff, Bob, what you guys were running 3.75s on them or whatever, and really turning them up, weren't you?
Yeah, we were under 4 at times, but we run them the tips. We run right the last station. We pitch it up, you know, a 10th higher, and you get a lot of good pull. But yeah, we were running 12.375 props. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a million years ago, though. So
that was a 500,000. You're not that old yet.
A million years ago.
Yeah, that was when he was hanging out with Moses flying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mo Quintana. Yeah. You guys don't even know Moses Quintana, do you?
Oh, I know. No.
He was a flyer on the East Coast. He was a Golden Gloves champion, and he was an amazing flyer. He and Gene Schaefer both flew clockwise, and he had incredible reflexes, but he was such a good boxer that he kind of got away from modeling to do boxing. But he was great.
Wow.
Lou Quintana. Used to fly with Billy Suarez.
Are you going up to Circle Birders on Sunday, Bob?
No, not until I'm not going to do anything until I have an airplane back working again. You know,
We'll see at the Nats next year.
Maybe. The problem I'm going to have, I'll be very honest. The problem I have is I don't even know if I'm going to fly competition again or not. I'm having too much fun just developing stuff and helping people get stuff going. I enjoy helping people, and I may fly competition. But the problem I'm going to have at the Nats is I got a young golden retriever. My wife still works; she's younger than I am, and I don't like putting my dog in a kennel. So I don't know what I'm going to do with the dog.
Bring him with you, and we'll all help watch him and stuff. Goldens are great dogs for.
The Motor Mouth gang said they watch her, but the problem is getting a hotel room. She's big; she's 85 pounds already, and they won't take dogs over 30 pounds. So I'll probably have to go out there and camp with. Jeff Traxler, you know.
It's camping grounds, yeah.
I don't know if there's a Red Roof will take any size dogs. I don't know if they have a Red Roof in Muncie or not.
I don't think so.
You'd rather go in a nice motorhome and out there.
Yeah, I don't have a nice motorhome though. I got a van.
Wonder how much it costs to rent a motorhome.
I don't know. I think what I might do is get somebody to come and watch the dog. I have a friend who's house sitting. Maybe he can come and watch the dog. We'll see.
Yeah, if I had my camper still, Bob, you can just drop the dog off there. It was air conditioned. That's what my brother did. We took our dog. We just put him in there when we were flying and stuff like that. And they're in air conditioning. And then you're done flying, you get them, and it's not so bad. But without the camper, I want to have the dog in a tent or whatever. It's 98 degrees in Muncie and stuff like that.
She's got a long coat. She's golden. She's got
right. And I just wouldn't do that to any dog, let alone one that's, got a long coat or whatever.
Yeah. So that may be the only thing that precludes me going to the Nationals ever again. We'll see.
They said they're supposed to have balloon burst at Circle Burners in a few weeks. I haven't flown that since Union.
Really? Yeah. That was the first contest I won was balloon bust in in 1963 with a J. Robert Swift and a Fox 19 on it. They didn't call it balloon bus back then. They called it rocket tree.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob, is it
What's
true
weird,
that-
that's the first thing Samantha won, too. One outright against was a balloon bus deal.
Hey, Bob, is it true that when you first flew PA, you went straight into advanced without going up the ranks?
Well, we didn't have advanced back then.
No, I mean, excuse me, not advanced, expert.
We didn't have expert back then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, junior, senior, open. And generally, senior and open were combined. So every week I was flying, as a senior, I was flying against Gene Schaefer, Bob Lampione, Bill Simons, Bill Suarez, Harold Price, you know, all these top dogs, you know. And actually, I like that better because it gives you an honest appraisal of where you really are. You know?
I don't remember who told me that. It could have been in that, I don't know, one of Sparky's interviews.
I started flying competition stunt in 1965. So.
He was so good, Rusty, they moved him to open right off the bat.
Anybody believes that, you know. It's funny. Somebody asked me recently, she said, when did you start flying? And I said, well, actually, technically, I won my very first contest in the 40s. And it's true. My father was the contest director for the Exchange Club contests in New Jersey at that time. They had a lot of contests, hundreds of modelers back then. And they stipulated they wanted something for kids. So they started a youngest contestant event. And you had to fly a requisite number of laps with a handle in your hand. I was 22 months old, so I don't remember any part of this. You know? But they told me that I flew the required number of laps, and I won. And the person I beat was Leon Schulman's son, Don Schulman. So it was pretty interesting. You know, Don Schulman, he's been around forever. And
22 months.
Well, Will Davis's grandchildren are going to be in that same category too, because he takes them out.
So I can say I've been winning. I started winning in the 1940s.
Wow.
That just proves what control line guys will, how they torture their kids.
Yeah.
Get out there, 20, you're going to fly.
Well, I loved it apparently, and I've loved it my whole life. I don't even remember learning to fly really. It was my father taught me, and of course we had Red Reinhardt and Larry Scarinzi around the house constantly. Red worked for my dad for 36 years, and Larry was always there. So I grew up with. I was about 8 years old before I realized that not everybody in the whole world flew stunt. You know.
Where did you grow up, Bob?
Well, I never grew up. I got older in Union.
Where are you?
I was born in Elizabeth on Morris Avenue. Then we lived in Union, just off Galloping Hill Road.
Okay.
5 Points, you know.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was on the other side. I was on the Maplewood borderline by Stanley Terrace.
Did you remember Mr. Davies, Vern Davies? He lived up in Maplewood. He was the president of the union.
I remember him as a president, but yeah, I was young back then. But yeah.
I remember Luciano as a little kid. I mean, just a little, you know, like toddler walking around the field.
Well, I remember his dad flying and stuff, and Frank DeSico. I would see Frank DeSico like every, once a week because he would always be over at my friend's house.
Yeah.
DeSico lived in Maplewood.
Sure.
Do you know where he used to live? Right off of Springfield Avenue?
I used to go to his house all the time.
Right. So you leave his house and you go down, like, was it Laurel Avenue, and you go across into the Union, area. My good friend was there. His name was Richie Hollywood. And Frank always used to be over his house all the time.
Yeah. So. I was in the club probably half a generation before, you guys came of age in the club. Right. I was in it from the early 50s to the early mid-60s, and then the next group came in, Frankie Imbriaco, and I was with Kenny Wills and Richie Karp and Bobby Himmelman and all those guys.
Well, if you look at the video I put on YouTube, you'll see, when I was flying the twin plane, and you'll see, was it Paul Riscala?
Paul, yeah.
In the video, he's, you can see he's like about 8 years younger than me.
Yeah. Paul, the other day we flew his new Olympic down at Stolberg, and it flies great, I remember him when he was like, I don't know, 8 years old or 6 years old or something. He was flying these huge 800 square inch airplanes that his father built for him, George built for him. and he had a panic attack up in Bristol, Connecticut. I remember he couldn't breathe. I grabbed a pair of wire cutters and ran out there, and George and I ran out. And grabbed the handle and cut the safety thong, got the airplane, and George carried him off. They had to take him to the hospital.
Really? Wow. Yeah, but I remember his dad's planes. They were beautiful stunt ships.
He's still around, George.
Yeah. But yeah, his planes. My father always used to admire his plane. He used, walk over there and stare at his stunt planes all the time.
A nicer guy you'd never want to meet.
Yeah. And my dad wanted me to fly stunt, and I didn't want no part of it. He says, fly stunt, like that. He goes, no.
Hey, Al, did you go see Larry Scorenzi?
Did I see him? Yeah, I was over. I see him a lot.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can't remember the last time I seen you. I know you were going to go see him and wondered how his wife was doing.
I mean, she's not doing, that well. I mean, she's okay, but she's,
getting old.
Not feeling that great,
Oh, okay.
I had a crush on her. When I was a little kid, I had a crush on Ginger. You ever see pictures of Ginger?
Next time y'all see him, tell him Rusty Knowlton's one of his newest admirers. So,
he might be there Sunday. I'm going to go up there Sunday. He's, he doesn't live far from that field.
Yeah.
Did you ever see pictures of Ginger when she was young?
Oh yeah. Oh, you showed me. You had the picture.
Yeah, she was really a knockout.
Yeah. I still remember you showed it to me at the swap meet 3 years ago. You had it. Yeah. I don't remember ever seeing her before because I always, it was always Larry at the field with his Super Saiyans.
I was about 10 years old and I had a crush on his wife.
As nice as she is and stuff, and you being a young boy, she's probably nice to you, and she was pretty, and you're like, wow.
She was great. We used to, I used to go to contests with Larry in his old, what was it? He had a Pontiac, or no, not a Pontiac, a Chevy wagon with the Woody wagon he had.
Ginger's a sweetheart,
Yeah, really, really is.
Yeah, did you ever go over to Larry's house and see his collection?
Oh, sure, yeah. I did a video there.
Oh, really? Yeah. It's amazing. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I met Larry at the Brodax a couple of years ago.
Yeah. He's a cool guy.
He is. He's crazy, but he's cool.
Yeah. He's a prankster. You gotta.
He's never grown up.
Yeah, you have to just like listen to what he says and then just say, oh, okay, He's always.
He could drive you crazy. When you want to get a flight in or something, he'll go out there and he's got this routine. It takes him like half an hour to start his airplane.
Oh, do you ever see The Ritual?
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
He has like 3 quarts of transmission fluid in his engine. Washes it all out, and then he goes and starts it up. Then he plays with the needle for once he gets it running, he does the needle for about 5 minutes, and then it's running out of fuel by the time he gets to the handle. Then when he puts it away,
he does that needle valve forever.
Yeah, and then when he puts it away, then he breaks out the transmission fluid and he pours it in the intake, and then he blows in the intake and he pushes it, and as he's blowing it, he's moving the prop back and forth, until it comes out the exhaust.
I got really mad at him one day at a VSC. That was the vintage stunt thing. It was the night before the contest began, and I'm trying to get some practice flights in, and he's out there with a combat ship doing the ritual. The half hour. Wait, what's this? I've never seen one of these before. And we all kind of got mad at him. We said, look, get off the circle because we want to practice. But it was funny because he was out there in those days in his Cadillac, and he put a can on the front of the bumper with it taped it on. It said, help a wayward modeler get back to New Jersey. And we're putting money in it. Now, the guy's worth a fortune. I don't know if you knew that. He's worth a lot of money. So he was over at the gas station by our motel. And you know how he is with the flannel shirts and the ragged. And this panhandler comes up and was going to put the touch on him. And just before the guy opened his mouth, Larry turned to the panhandler and says, hey, mister, can you lend me $5 so I can get home to New Jersey?
And he always, when you go to the diner with him, he always gives the waitresses a hard time.
But he gives them a good tip.
I was about to ask that. That was my next question.
You give him a good tip. He's not cheap.
You know, you talk about never growing up, Bob. Samantha was probably about 8, 9 years old. And it was right when she first started flying that year or whatever. And I don't know where I got it. My mom, whatever, we got her this big dollhouse. So we were at my mom's, and I'm not sure if it was Thanksgiving or whatever, but Samantha was playing with her doll in a dollhouse, and his wife Bonnie and my mom and all that kind of stuff. We came over here to work on airplanes, and on the way over, he's like, I can't believe Bonnie, almost 50 years old and playing with dolls. I said, Kevin, I am 50 years old and I still play with the same toys I played with when I was 9.
Really?
And he's like, I never thought of it that way. I'm like, yeah, think of it. I said, we get to still do the same exact thing with dirt bikes, airplanes, everything we did as kids. But women, they can't go back and play with the stuff they played with when they were kids. I said, you know, it's a different deal. But he's like, yeah, I never thought of it that way. And I'm like, well, yeah, you know, you still have childhood memories. And
it begs the question, what's your point?
well, the point is that, you know, I think you're happier and stuff, you know, when you never grow up and you get to have fun like you always did. You know, that
what you're saying is it's better to be a guy.
Yeah, it is on a lot of that stuff, you know. But that's like with Samantha now, you know. She still has her doll in dollhouses when her little nieces come over. They're always playing with that stuff, you know. And she says she does it because she's playing with them. But is that really true, or does it just give her an excuse to be able to do that without being ridiculed?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Even if it's subconsciously, yeah, that sounds like the answer. You know, she's having fun doing it, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she knows where all the dresses are and the different deals, and she still remembers it, you know, where all of her stuff's at. And, you know, I tried to talk her into giving all that over to her nieces, and she still doesn't want to do it. But I'm going to move, and I'm going to downsize, so we got to get rid of stuff.
Yeah, one of these sad days pretty soon, I'm going to give most of my tools to my son. I love my tools, you know. I'm just one of those people that cherishes the tools and every piece of metal on them. And but my days of using them are, you know, just about over. I'm not going to be changing the timing belt on any cars in the carport, you know, anymore, and that kind of thing. And he needs the stuff, so yeah, I'm going to pass them along.
You know, I buy a lot of balsa wood for doing the foam wings and things, you know. And I buy several hundred sheets at a time, 600 or 700 sheets at a time. And I grade it all out. And you know, one of the real benefits of it is when the real light stuff comes out, you know, the 6 gram per sheet stuff, I put it in my own pile, you know. And I got this pile of quarter grain 16ths, like 300 pieces of it. It's like pristine stock. And my son calls that his inheritance.
Has Robbie been flying lately at all?
He's trying to find a place to fly out there. They don't have a place to fly. He's got the Tucker out there, and he's been flying that for a while. And then he and Howard, I guess he's going to run over to Howard to fly. So he's
an engineer. What kind of engineering does he do?
Well, he's not an engineer. He's a composite specialist. He does composite work at Boeing. Right now, they're working on cryo tanks for rocket ships.
What's his what is he by degree? Is he a chemist or
well, I don't know what his actual degree is. He went to the Boeing Composite School, so whatever that is, composite specialist or something.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. But he went over to Howard's plantation there, you know, and he was helping Howard, you know, put in the field. So I guess he's going to be allowed to fly on the field. So.
Well, that's good.
Howard, are you talking about Howard Rush?
Howard Rush, yeah.
I've never had any communication with him. Everybody says he's a fun guy.
He's one of the funniest people on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really funny.
Werwage may be the funniest guy I've ever met.
Actually, actually, I have had some communication with Howard. He made some he 3D printed headers for exhaust stacks for my Yak 9 and my Sterling Mustang. Just out of the blue. You know, I was talking about them one day. For the first year I had the plane, I had a piece of tape where the headers were supposed to go. And finally, you know, he popped up with a PM and said, Rusty, if you'll send me the dimensions, I'll make you some. And so he sent me some, you know, in various orientations, and they look beautiful.
He's quite a craftsman. He really is. He's funny because his wife has some family down south of us here, and they come in to visit. So when he's visiting her family, he comes up here and, you know, spends a few hours at, they come up for dinner one night. But when he was coming up, I had everything in the shop arranged. I wanted to show him all the new stuff I was doing, you know, and impress him with all this technical stuff I'm doing. Well, a while back, I made some sleeves to go on some bricks to be weights, you know, for weighting things down so they wouldn't mar balsa wood. He walks in the shop and I have all the stuff laid out to show him, and he goes right to the bricks, and he couldn't stop talking about the foam covered bricks. He says, "Brilliant, foam covered bricks." It's like, yeah, okay, Howard, but you know, I got all this stuff here. The bricks, man, the bricks.
Hey, well, those were pretty impressive. And I've seen some pictures in your PDFs, and I see those foam covered bricks. I go, that's a great idea.
You know, everybody says I should sell them, but the problem is the weight. You can't ship bricks. I mean, you know, it's too much weight.
Yeah.
And you can't make
some of my favorite laminating weights are these old iron clothes irons that you'd heat up in the fireplace back before there was electricity. And I've got a lighter one and a heavier one, and it's got beautiful flat bottoms on them. And you lay those down, and man, you got a flat surface.
I got a million different kinds of weights, you know, from the time I was a machinist. I worked as a machinist, and I used to just cut up cold roll stock, you know, 1x3 by 6, and mill it, you know, fly cut it till it was all flat. And then I'd take them home, and I still have those. From,
for my birthday, my son gave me a 6-inch by 8-inch sheet of 3/8-inch thick iron.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's a great weight too. It's just hard to pick up with your fingertips. So
Bob ain't telling everybody that his foam covered bricks, them are bricks of gold.
Yeah.
He covers them so people won't think of where he hides all of his.
Well, I thought about how to do it less expensively, so I could just make the sleeves and people could buy their own bricks and put them in. Problem is, bricks are not consistent in size throughout the country.
Yeah.
You know, so I gave up on that idea.
You know, what I use for weights is sometimes I find people throw away their fluorescent lights, and I cannibalize them and get the ballast out of them.
Yeah.
Some of the old fluorescent fixtures have some really heavy ballast, and so I have a bunch of ballast in my garage. That's what I use for weights.
Yeah.
I just cut the wires off and then use the ballast.
You know, that's like with the foam wings and stuff. I just got to get me like a 4x8 sheet of plywood, and then put the cores down and put the plywood on top. Get me a sleeping bag and sleep on it.
You're not heavy enough.
God, I'm getting there, Bob. I'm going to be.
I put about 400 pounds on them. You know.
Wow. Yeah, I only do about 250, but 400, huh?
Yeah. Okay. So you know, when you figure it out per square inch, it's not that much. You know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got an old barbell set, and I take and set them. They were the old, like the plastic ones that had the lead shot in them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember those.
And they have like a locking thing, so I can set the first one down and then set the next one that locks in place, so they're not all wobbly or anything. But God, I've kept them since I was probably 16 years old, and that's what I use. But
that would be a good article. You know, how to do weights. You know, custom weights for building and things. You know,
I think that would be a great article.
Bean bags and you know, all kinds of stuff. You know, I use a lot of solid concrete blocks. You know, just heavy enough that I can lift them and put them on the board, and I just stack them up. You know, so.
Oh yeah, so it just doesn't get wobbly.
That much weight, wow.
Yeah. I'd like to really, you know, I don't have vacuum bagging, so I use a lot of weight. I'm doing that compositing that I'm doing with the silk spout onto the wood. I'm doing that against the 3 mil mylar that way, and it works fine.
Now
you have the wedded face facing down in a cradle against the flat board against the mylar, and the epoxy tends to sink down towards these, the mylar.
Yeah.
If you had it the other way around, it wouldn't work as well. So you have to have it so the epoxy wants to sink down, towards the bench.
Yeah, by gravity.
Yeah.
Why don't you? Have you ever tried vacuum bagging or not?
I haven't. I have a vacuum system. I just haven't got it all put together yet. Robbie's on my case, and so is Howard. To do vacuum bagging, because that's all they do.
Yeah, because I was thinking if you took a piece of plywood or whatever, and then put your wing on it, another piece of plywood, put it in a bag, and then just vacuum bag it like that. But
no, yeah, it makes perfect sense. The problem is with foam wings, especially if you have one of the sections cored out where you have to put the landing gear clips. You have to core it out ahead of time, put the landing gear clips in. Let's say you have a normal airplane with the front section cored out, and you vacuum bag it, you're going to crush that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. If it's a solid foam wing, with no cored out areas, you probably get away with the vacuum bagging.
Well, I always wondered too if it would twist it though by the way when it pulled down. If there's a weak part,
the bag underneath is not setting dead flat. Yeah, you could put a twist or a bow or something. That's one of the reasons I never went to vacuum bagging. I never understood how I could get everything to sit as flat on. I have a piece of granite, big heavy. I have several pieces of granite and slate, big heavy, 1 1/4 inch thick pool table tops, and the stuff weighs a ton, but it's dead flat. And I like the fact that you can weight something down against something dead flat, and it's going to stay flat.
Back when I was young and doing when I was into the RC pattern, because I had 2 pieces of that damn pool table slate, and one piece probably weighed about 200 and some pounds.
Yeah, no doubt.
And
that's
I would
so much better than glass, because
one piece
glass flexes.
the basement floor, put that down, and then we get my brother to come over and help me pick up that other piece of slate, and then we set that on the.
Well, a friend of ours here,
do it by myself.
There's a local guy that flies RC. He's starting to fly some control line now. I forgot his name, but he has an amusement business, and he said right now, the pool tables are falling out of favor, so he has lots of slate. So one day he said, "You want some slate?" I said, "Sure." So he brought like 6 pieces down in his big truck, and the truck's suspension was, you could see it was. And I gave a bunch of them away to friends because 3 of us to get those pieces into the shop.
Yeah.
I had an old Mercury Cougar, and it had a trunk you could sleep in.
Yeah, those were big cars.
So when I got my slate, we put it in the back of that damn Cougar, and it looked like I had a lowrider in the ass end that we were going. I got that thing home, and I couldn't even see over the hood.
Stuff's incredibly heavy.
Yeah.
But it is flat, and
it doesn't flex like glass does either.
Well, the thing about glass is liquid,
Fluid, yeah.
Everybody thinks glass is, it's solid. Glass is liquid. And if you ever talk to people who do old houses, they'll tell you that the panes of glass are much thicker at the bottom than
they are at the top.
They sag.
They sag. So when you put a piece of glass down, and you leave it for any length of time, you're going to get a sag in there. It may only be a couple of thousandths, but a couple of thousandths was a couple of thousandths. So
I'll be right back. I gotta let the dog out.
Granite or slate is a better deal.
It took me several hours to shim the 3/8 inch thick glass that I've got on my building table, because the wooden top is not flat, and I had to finally use different sizes of cardboard and paper, and using my machinist 48 inch rule and going along it in every direction. Finally got it. And
a nice piece of 5/8 inch thick plate glass. It was like 48 inches long by about 18 inches wide. And finally, I just gave it away. I didn't want it to shop anymore. I don't want to use it. Granite or slate.
Oh, guys, I'm going to check out.
All right.
Yeah, well, it's after closing time anyway, so thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
All right.
We'll see you Monday, I hope. Or
Well,
something.
if we all leave now and Steve comes back, what's he going to say? Where'd they go?
Yeah. Now it's about time to close up shop for the night anyway. I gotta get up
I got an assignment for you.
bright-tailed and bushy-eyed for tomorrow. What's that? What is
Charles and I have been working together a little bit.
Yeah.
It is. You're going to build yourself an airplane.
I know. I have a
airplane.
Yeah, I need to build a cool airplane.
A real not so much cooler, a real airplane, Get around somebody. I'm not saying the ARFs have their place to get people started. You've gotten started, you've done well. Now you need a machine.
Yeah, I know, I do.
And
I have a Thundergazer kit. My
electric, it can be glow, that's all right. But
I have a Thundergazer kit, and that's
no kits. Zero kits.
No kits.
You're going to build off plans because
serious
they
assignment.
chop the wood and splice the wood and they pick out wood that's heavy. You're going to start learning you're going to get a good digital gram scale. You're going to start weighing wood, and you're going to, if you want to build a real machine, you got to build a real machine.
All right. Well, I have my lost phone kit for the Thundergazer I bought from you a couple years ago.
Okay. Well, I can work with you. Can you do Skype?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I can get my wife's, what do you call it? She has a little tablet, and I can set that up downstairs, and we can work. I can help you. A lot of guys come here and build. We must have about 15 guys come here and build airplanes, and they're all building good airplanes. Because they're learning some skills that took me a long time to learn. I'm passing them along, and I'm willing to do that. But man, you need a better airplane.
I know.
A lot better.
A lot better.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
when you fly your first really, really, really good airplane, you're going to have a lot less respect for the top flyers. You're going to say, they're not really that good. It's just their airplanes.
I look forward to that.
I'll try to get that airplane out to you this coming week.
Oh, that'd be great. I've been checking the mail going, where's it at?
Yeah, we've been so busy. We got Samantha moved in yesterday into college. And
no problem, man. I was just kidding.
What are you sending out?
What's that?
What kind of airplane?
It's a, I don't know what, SB-20 something. It's the Tempest.
Mm-hmm.
I forget. It's a Randy Smith kit. It's got nice wood and stuff like that. I told him,
that kind of kit's okay. I'm just talking about the normal kit.
Right. Yeah. So, but I told him, it's not going to have the wood like is on Samantha's airplane right now. That's all hand picked and took 6 months to get and all that kind of stuff. But it's a whole lot better than a lot of them.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was talking to Chris. I think I mentioned this to you, and he said that Samantha's airplane flies better than his did.
Yeah, it's good. Something she's going to have to get used to. She was getting used to it a lot more because it flew so much different than
a thoroughbred is. You have an airplane that has a lot of performance. You got to be able to live up to that performance. I mean, you always want an airplane that's better than you are.
Yeah.
And these airplanes people are flying are holding them back. You want an airplane you can't catch up to,
That could be part of my problem.
Yeah, it is. Samantha was saying that, it's like going into the Clover and always have an airplane that loses line tension.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to work it through that. She said that, flying this one, she's already starting to move back and it didn't lose it. And then, it's like the stuff that she did before, she didn't have to do it. And she said it was so different to try to fly it than to force it through maneuvers all the time.
Exactly. Where they always have tension and where they're supposed to have tension, they're always moving at one speed. The timing is going to be so much easier. You're not adjusting your timing to an airplane that's slowing up and slowing down and speeding up and going all over the place. If it's all one constant speed, more or less, you're going to have your timing a lot better and a lot easier.
Yeah.
So a good airplane is imperative,
Well, that's what she was saying too, is like trying to know if the wind's blowing at a certain speed that plane's going to wind up and where to make turn that bottom. Well, she was always turning that first bottom high because the
Now,
damn
with the active timer system,
where she wanted it to turn, you know.
yeah, with those active timer systems, she's got all the time in the world now.
Yeah, and it makes a big difference. It's like I said, if we had this airplane 4 years ago, 5 years ago, how good she would be now. But flying junk for all them years and her just, you know, trying to learn to force herself to do the maneuver and put up with all that crummy stuff. But since I don't fly, I have no idea how the airplane flies.
Yeah.
You know, that was like last year when we took it, her one airplane, and Derek Barry tried to trim it at the Nats. And really, you know, got a long ways with it. But it's like he said, God, this airplane don't fly.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and she was flying it.
Well,
But she, you know, she couldn't get better because the airplane just wouldn't do anything more. So,
well, she's got a good one now, you know. So.
You know, so
the problem is getting another one as good as this one. I mean, apparently that's an exemplary airplane, you know.
I'm gonna strip it though. I'm gonna get it lighter. I'm gonna.
If it's flying as good as Chris says it's flying, just fly it. You know, just fly it. Build another one.
It's but it's too heavy for her.
What do you mean it's too heavy?
She just can't fly a 63-ounce airplane.
That's not that heavy.
Well, she only weighs 110 pounds. I mean,
is it wearing her arm out?
Yeah, wears her arm out. By the end of the flight, her arm is straight.
You get a little bit of the pull out of that. You know, a little less motor offset, a little less edge on, lead us forward a little bit, maybe if you can. It'll get some of the tension out of it. You know.
Yeah, it's just.
You'd be surprised how little tension I fly with. You would fly my airplane. You say it's impossible to fly with that little tension.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's always there, but it's you know, it doesn't pull the handle out of my hand. I get tired. I flew a couple of Wendy's airplanes, and I was actually I damaged my tendons. I couldn't fly for like 3 months.
John Jenkins did the same thing, and it was more than 3 months at Brodak last year. He flew every day, and at the end of the week, his arm was in such pain he couldn't use it. He had to lay off flying for a long time.
I can't understand why people put that much tension in airplanes. It's not necessary.
Well, the other thing with Samantha too is she has something with her skin, and if she flies a lot with something that pulls a lot, her skin is so tender that a day after she can hardly pick stuff up. And I don't know what.
That's not good. That's not good.
That's a nerve problem.
You know, so we just got to get a lighter airplane for her. It's just all there is to it. You know, 63. I ain't that heavy with the battery and everything.
You know that Genesis that I flew for so long, that you know, the Genesis Extreme, the electric one? That was 54 ounces with the battery on board.
Wow. Yeah, so that's kind of what she, you know, and the other thing is, with the active timer, that's really helped her. There was no way in hell she could have flew a 63-ounce airplane without the active timer.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah.
There was just no way. And I still got to get rid of side area. So if there is some wind pulling on it, it'll limit. And I want to go with a something that's oval or whatever, so the wind will go around it, not hit that flat side.
I mean, the reason we had so much side area in the past is because we didn't have any horsepower. Now we got thrust; it's unbelievable. So we don't need all that side area anymore. I don't think, in my opinion.
That was like the Chinese kid flying that BG. That part of that airplane looked like about 2 inches.
Yeah,
it went down to nothing. I mean, there was nothing there for the wind to hit and stuff like that. You know, smaller rudder, the whole works on that. And
well, what size is this airplane? I mean, apparently he shortened the wing up or something. Because when I cut the lost foam cradle set for it, he said cut it so it was 1 panel shorter or something.
It came out to be about 650 square inches.
And it's 63 out. Oh, yeah, okay, so it is a heavy airplane for that size, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I think. You know, we had to fly it fairly. Well, we didn't have to fly it fast, but we had to put a lot of power into that electric motor.
Yeah.
Which is a nice thing there because with the under camber prop, which pull harder and all that kind of stuff, you know, it didn't.
Well, you should be able to build something now with that with the built-up wing. and molded shells and everything. You should be able to get them down. I mean, really into the mid to high 50s with the battery on board.
That's what I'm figuring.
Yeah.
You know,
And
the airplane was relatively light, but when you add 12 ounces with the battery, you know, that bumped it up to.
You're flying a 6S?
Yeah. Yep.
That's another thing. You go to a lighter airplane, you go to the lighter battery. You go to a 5S.
Exactly. Yep.
Hey, listen, I'm going to jump. Guys, been good talking.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in and get a lot of good information from you. And
Oh, it's fun. You know, I don't know if I can do it every week or not, but I'll do it as often as I can. And but Charles, if we can get together on Skype or FaceTime,
Right.
FaceTime,
Sure, we can do it tomorrow.
and
Or
we'll
tomorrow, Sunday, whatever's good for you.
yeah, whatever, and we'll start, you know, working through a little program to get you a better airplane.
That sounds great.
All right. We enjoyed
All right, man.
it, and I'm gonna go ahead and close up too. So
Good, man.
everybody, y'all have a great weekend, and I'm gonna go to Triple Tree, and I hope to tell you about flying when we come back.
yeah, I wanted to go to FCM tomorrow, but my leg and shit, they're just not going to let me ride in that truck that far. I went to Detroit last week and about died, and it's 4.5 hour drive there to Muncie. And
I wanted to get out there, you know, to pay tribute to Roger. You know, that whole thing is about Roger. You know, so.
But thanks everybody, and that goes for you YouTube guys out there too. We got Bob Bishop and all kinds of people. We got Jorge Gonzalez, all you guys.
All right, be good.
We'll see y'all Monday, and thanks. Y'all have a great weekend.
all right, take it easy, Russ.
All right. So fair winds, tight lines, and we'll see y'all later.
All righty.
Signing off.